Now, in today's app building tutorial, we are going to be building a real app using a no-code app builder called Momen. Now, Momen is an amazing app builder. It's a lot more powerful than some of the competing offers because you get some really awesome functionality that you typically need to get by using other tools. And so you get some really powerful functionality in an all-in-one package. And the best part of it all is that it's all integrated tightly. And so in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can build a complex app using some advanced functionality in record time. And there's absolutely no code in this video. It's completely no code. And so make sure you watch this video until the very end because you're going to learn a ton of things, and definitely stay tuned for my final thoughts to see if this is the right tool for your specific use case. All right, so let's first start with the schema for this app. So we're going to be building an e-commerce store, right? Amazon Lite. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to come up with a schema, okay? So this is an important part because this is where your app, this is how your app is going to evolve. This is from, where it's going to start with the data, with the schema. And depending on how you structure it, you will need to build your app in a way that understands the schema. Okay. Now, Momen supports an internal database, and this database is fairly powerful. It's a relational database. So you have, you can have relations, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, just like, using something like Supabase, which is external. And so you have that. Plus you have a bunch of other features, aggregation, things like that we're going to be covering in this app building tutorial. But first, let's go ahead and look at our schema here because this is where it all begins. And to show you kind of how to wrangle it properly, I have here another table that always helps me understand, where the data is flowing and how the data is connected. And so the purpose of this little table here is to show you how the data is flowing, right? So we have a one-to-many relationship, or even in some cases, one-to-one relationship. And so you can think of these tables here that, this is the one side, and this is either another one side, one-to-one, or one-to-many side. When it comes to users, a user can have multiple orders, and they can also leave multiple reviews. Now, the cards, they're going to have one active card at a particular time. And so I log in, I have a card, I place my items in the card, and then, I purchase, and then that card goes away. And so I cannot have multiple cards active at the same time. So this is a one-to-one relationship. And so here we have users, here we have cards, orders, and reviews. Okay, all three entities that a user can potentially have many of. Well, except cards, which is just one. Now, a card can have multiple card items, right? So here we have cards. And one of these records can have multiple cart items here. Okay, so it's important to understand because your cart is one, right? It's one entity, but you can have multiple products in there. So you're buying, you're buying like carrots, potatoes, tomatoes, right? Those are items in that cart. Even multiple items of the same, the same item. There are multiple things that are linked to a single cart. Next, we have orders, and orders can have order items and shipping updates. Okay, so here's our orders. It's going to have order items and it's going to have shipping items, right? Shipping item updates. And so orders and order items is the same as carts and cart items, right? When you check out a cart, it becomes an order, and those items, they go into order items. Okay, so that way we can always look up a particular order and see what the items were there, right? We have a history. Okay, and shipping updates is a way to track what's happening with the order, right? So an order is going to have, a record of, things that are happening, right? We have this order ID, we have the status, timestamp, location where the order is. Okay, next we have products, and products is going to be linked to cart items, order items, and reviews. Okay. And so right here we have products, and obviously cart items, it's going to need to have a product ID, right? So these products, they're linked to cart items via product ID. to order items via a product ID, and then to reviews as well, right? So the reviews that has a product ID. And so in this instance, these ones here, they're linked via a product ID to products. Okay, so it's a one-to-many relationship as well, because one product can be represented multiple times in cart items, multiple times here, and multiple times in reviews. Next, we have categories and products. Categories is a standalone entity. It's not linked to anything. And a product is linked back to a category via a category ID. Okay. And so this is our schema on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, it's just like an easier way to see where stuff flows. At least it's easier for me just to understand where are the, where are the, one-to-many relationships, one-to-one relationships, and which side is the many side and which side is the one side. Okay. So for me, it's a lot easier to understand. Hopefully it's going to help you, to do the same as well. All right. So here I am logged into Momen, and we are ready to start building our app. And before we do that, let me quickly show you some of the features and familiarize you with the UI here. So on the top area right here, you can switch different features and have it show different functionalities essentially. And so we're on the page screen, and this is where you set up your pages. You configure your UI elements, you wire them either to data or to an action, and that is what the user mainly sees, right? Now, if you go into data, this is where we configure our schema or data model and a database. So if you click here, you can configure your database as well. So right now we have an account, which is a built-in table. We can't delete it here, okay? And then we have a bunch of system tables that are there automatically, okay? These tables we don't really touch and we can't really edit them, okay? And so I can add new tables, and this is exactly what we're going to be doing when we start to configure our schema. And then if you go into database, you can see all the data in these tables. And so I really like this layout, right? We have this data model, and we have this database. Now, if you click this, you're going to have something called a sub database. So this is where you can create, edit, and share sub databases with filtered tables and columns. And this is something that we're going to come back a little bit later in the tutorial. Okay. Now, if you click here on the API, this is where you can configure your API. So as you can see, I have this one API over here, and you can create more APIs, right? You can simply click over here, and you can create more APIs. And this is something that we'll do throughout this app building tutorial. Now, here we have something called an action flow. And this is really, really nice because this allows us to create actions. Now, not just any action, right? These could be actions that are triggered via the UI, but these could be scheduled or, webhook triggered actions, right? This is really, really nice because you can create essentially any kind of action that you want, and this really negates the need for a separate backend tool like BuildShip if you use this here, okay? Next, we have here AI, and this is where you can create agents. And here we have the settings where you can configure various things about the project, okay? And so let's go back into data and let's go ahead and configure our tables here. And so we want to configure these tables. So we have our users, which is called account here. So that is what we have for authentication. And so the table that I want to create right now is I want to start with cards. Okay. So we're going to create cards, and this has a one-to-many to users, or actually a one-to-one to users, because any user can only have one card at any given time. And we're going to go ahead and create it. And then this card has a one-to-many relationship to cart items. Okay. So let's go ahead and create this first. So we have ID, user ID, and created that. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to create another table, and I'm going to say this table is cards, and we're going to say okay. Okay. And so now we have this table created. As you can see, we have these fields automatically here. ID created that and now updated that. It's very, very similar to how Supabase has these fields as well, but we also have updated that, which is a nice benefit. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to create a relation from accounts to cards. So I'm going to go into account and I'm going to create a relation, right? You want to do it on the one side. Okay. So we're going to click here. we're going to select the target table, which is cards. The relation table type is one-to-one. Relation name in the target table, right? So that's going to be set in the target table. And this is going to be this user ID. Okay. So I'm going to say user ID and relation name in the current table. And that should just be cards. Okay. So I'm going to say, okay. And now we have this relation over here separate. Now, if we go into cards, we have this back, this foreign key, right? This foreign key. Okay. And so now what you can do is you can see that if you go into, if you take a look at your schema, you can see that account has a one-to-one relationship to cards. Okay, really, really simple. And if you want to delete this relationship, you can simply click here. Okay, so now we have this relationship and I'm going to click on update backend. It's going to go ahead and make these changes for us. And now it is all done. Okay, so backend update successful. And now we're going to do the same for the other tables. So let's go ahead and do cart items. It has a ID, cart ID, product. So it's going to have a cart ID, product ID, and quantity. So I'm going to select cards. And so I'm going to go ahead and add this first. I'm going to say cart items. We have cart items. I'm going to add a bunch of regular columns, right? So if you take a look here, these are keys. Right, so we're going to add them later, but we need to add quantity. So quantity is a regular field. So I'm going to go ahead and add quantity. And the type is going to be an integer. Okay? And I'm going to say, okay. So now we have cards this. Next, I'm going to create a relation. So I'm going to do it from the cards to cart items, right? So I'm going to select cards and I'm going to create a relation here. And the target is going to be cart items. The relation is one-to-many. Relation name in the target table, right? And cart items, right? So that's going to be this card ID, okay? So I'm going to say card ID. And then the relation name in the current table is card items. So now, as you can see, if we go over here, you can see that we have one-to-one and then one-to-many here, okay? And if we go into cards, you can see card items. And then if you go into card items, you have this card ID, which links back. This is the foreign key, okay? So let's continue this. So now we need to do orders and order items, right? So I'm going to do orders. So we need status, total, shipping address, just 3 fields. And then we're going to create a relationship. So I'm going to say orders and I need, what fields do I need? Status, total, shipping address, and that's it. So I'm going to say status is a total and shipping address. All right. So now we have orders. Next, you want to do order items. This is this table and we need here quantity and price. And then the other fields are keys. So I'm going to say order items. We have order items and I'm going to add quantity and I'm going to add price. All right. And now let's go ahead and create the relationship. I'm going to select orders. I'm going to add a relationship and this is going to be order items. Relationship is one-to-many because one order can have multiple order items. Relation name in the target table. So in the target table, it's going to be order ID. And then this is going to be order items. Okay. So now we have this here and order items, order ID links back there. All right. Next, we need to do shipping update, and shipping update is linked to orders, right? An order can have a shipping update. So status, timestamp, location. So I'm going to add a shipping update. Is it update? Updates. And let me take a look. Status, timestamp, location. Timestamp is created at. Well, yeah, I don't think we need that because that's created automatically. And we need location. Yeah, timestamp we don't need. We need location. Okay, so we have that. We have shipping items. We have these 5. Now we need to create products. Okay. So products by itself is only a one-to-many here. Okay. So categories and then there's a bunch of other ones are going to be connecting to products. So let's go ahead and create products. Let's start out with title, description, price, stock. Description, price is going to be this one so that it's, has a decimal there. And stock is an integer. And what else do we need? Image URL, and then we'll do category ID later, image URL. That's it. So as you can see, I'm only creating the fields that are not keys because keys need to be done separately here. Image URL here. Let's go ahead and create categories so that we can create a one-to-many relationship. So categories is easy, name and icon URL. So I'm going to do categories and I'm going to say name and I'm going to say icon URL. And so now let's go ahead and create a relationship. Categories to products, one-to-many. I'm going to add a relationship. Target is products and relationship is one-to-many because one category can have many products. And the relation type is one-to-many because one category can have many products, but a product can be in one category. That's a classical one-to-many relationship. So target table is going to be product ID, and in the current table is products. Okay. And so in categories, you can get all your products using this relation here, which is going to make it super easy. And so we're done here. We're done here. We just need reviews. And for reviews, rating and comment. Rating, I'm just going to do integer, and comment is text. This is the actual review. All right, so we have all our tables. Now we need to link them together. You see how we created products, categories linked to products, but there's a lot of references to products that we still need to link. Now, this relationship here is going to work slightly different, okay? Because we have this product ID in cart items, but products does not even know about cart items. And so why do we have this here? Well, the reason we have this here is because we need a way to unpack this information. Okay, so this product ID needs to be unpacked. So it's really a one-to-one relationship if you think about it, right? Because this product ID is only one product, right? It's not like categories products where categories might have multiple products where it's linked back. This thing here is going to be unpacked onto one product. And so if we go back here, we can simply go into cart items and we can just do it on this level. We can just have this product ID, just like we have this card ID that's unpacked. And so we're going to come in here. We're going to create a relation. And so I'm going to say target table is products. This is a one-to-one. Now for the relation name in target table, this is a products. We can create a key, but we're not going to be really using it from products. At least I don't really see us using it. And so we can call it, just something like card ID. Okay. But this is what we're going to be using it because in current table, right? So the current table is cart items. We need to store product ID because this one is what we're going to be using. We're not so much going to be using this one, but it still needs something. Okay. So I'm going to say, okay. And now if we take a look at our cart items, right? We have a one-to-one to products. Okay. So from a cart items, we have the product ID. So we can pull up a product. Right? Because a cart item is essentially one product, right? It can have multiple quantities, but it's still one product. And that's why it's a one-to-one relationship. Okay. Now we need to do the same for order items. Okay. Let's go ahead and go into order items and do the same thing. I'm just going to do a relationship. Target table is products and relation is one-to-one. Relation name in the target table. So this is in products. We're not going to be using it. So I'm just going to say order item. And this is going to be the product ID. This is where we're going to be unpacking. And so now we have the order items and we have product ID. Okay. And same thing for cart items. We have product ID. So we can link back to our product. Okay. And we need to do the same for reviews. Now, reviews also has the user ID and the product ID. So user ID is one-to-one because actually it's one-to-many, right? A user can have multiple reviews and the product ID is just going to be a one-to-one to products, right? Because a review is about a specific product. We're not going to be unpacking multiple products in the review. It's a one-to-one. But a user can have multiple reviews. So let's do it from the users first. This is this account. I'm going to do this and I'm going to say target is reviews. And this is a one-to-many because a user can leave multiple reviews. And so in the target table, in this reviews, I'm just going to put a user ID. And here, I'm just going to put reviews. So that way we can unpack reviews. And now we need this product ID link, right? So I'm going to go into reviews and I'm going to go ahead and create the relation to products. I'm going to say it's a one-to-one and then the target table review ID. So this is not going to be used. And here we need the product ID, okay? Because on the review, we want to access the product using this product ID. All right. So now we are done. We have our schema and if we can zoom out, you can see that we have lots of things happening here. And so it's going to get interesting. Once we start kind of using these relations, you're going to see how super easy it is to do it. It's just a blast to do it. So let's go ahead and update our backend to do a database migration for it to update our schema and make sure everything works together. All right, so we are done here, and now we can start building the actual app. Now, the next thing that I'd like to do, and this is an optional step, is I like to feed my database with some sample data. And it's really, really easy to do it here in Momen. And so in this, inside this database tab here, we're going to be seeing our data. And right now we only have an account that we have created, and we don't have any other data. And so what I like to do is I like to go into products or categories. I like to start with these. So let's go ahead and start with categories. And when you click on import, you can download a template. And so when you select what you're doing, so we are here in categories. So I'm going to go and select categories. You hit download. You're given a template in Excel format that you can import into Google Sheets, and you can simply fill out, the rows, add the rows, and add the data, and upload it, and that's gonna have your that's gonna give you the sample data. So I already did that. I actually used ChatGPT to do that. And so I have my categories, I have my products, and so I'm gonna select categories. And so if I want to still download, I can click on download and download it, but I already have it. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go ahead and upload my sample categories data here. So I'm going to click next, and I'm using categories. And here I need to map the fields. Okay, so I have my fields here, and so I'm going to map name and icon URL. I'm not going to be mapping these because these are created automatically. So I'm going to do icon URL. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say next. Now it's asking me for a relationship. Okay, so remember, categories to products is a one-to-many relationship. And now, unfortunately, we don't have any products, right? So we don't have we don't have anything to create a relationship on. So I'm gonna do ignore because we can do that later. I'm gonna hit next, and I'm gonna hit next, and now it's displaying us sample data, and this is the data that I had generated. And there's no products. We're gonna do that later, and I'm gonna hit import. Import successful. And now I can hit refresh, and I have my categories here. And so I'm going to do the same thing for products. Import data. I already have it created. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to say this is products. Hit next. And now we need to map our fields. So I have title. I have description. I have price. I have stock. I have image URL. And I don't have any of these. Okay. And well, I also don't have any of these. Created at, actually I do have created at, and I have updated that. So I do have these fields, but I don't have these fields, right? Because this is categories. And so, yeah, we have categories defined, so we can potentially have this. But remember, these two fields, we don't really care about it on product side. We care what the product is on this table. And then reviews for the product, yeah, this could be useful, but we don't have it right now. So I'm just going to say no, and no, and no as well. I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to ignore these relationships for now. So I'm going to say ignore, ignore, ignore. We can set them later. Next, next. And now it's showing us the data here. Okay, it looks good. Import, import successful. Refresh. And now we have our 10 products and 10 categories. Now here what I can do is I can link them like this, or I can enter a category directly. So if you look into categories, we have 31 to 40 ID. And so here I can just put 31. Okay. And I can exit out, and it's saved. Okay. And so if I go back to categories, this category has a product. Okay. So as you can see, this is that one-to-many relationship. Now I can go back here, and I can have this one 31 also. Okay. So now if I go back, this category has two products, right? Is that the one-to-many relationship in action? And I can keep going. Let's say this is 32. Let's say this is 40, 31, something like that. And if I go back, it's going to be reflected here. Okay. So now it knows how many products are here, because this is the one side, and this is the many side. And so at this point, we have some products, and we have some categories that have some products, meaning that we have products assigned to categories. Okay. And we also have an account as well. Here, this James account that I've created beforehand, and you can also import these. But I think one account is enough to get started. All right, so now that our database has been seeded with some data, we can start building our app. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to build a login page, okay? So that users can log in to their account. We'll also build maybe a sign up page as well. Let's go ahead and start with a login page. And so here I have a page here that I have created, and this is a login page, and you simply click over here and you can add a new page. You can rename it, and so you can call it whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it for now. You can also right click and set it as a home page if you have multiple pages. And so right here, we can select how we want those pages to be viewed. You can view all of them. You can view just the desktop, the phone, or the tablet. We're just going to focus on mobile stuff for now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component. Now, these components are going to be very, very similar to pretty much any other app builder, like Flutterflow or anyone out there. But what I like to do is I like to start out with a view. Okay, so I'm just going to drag that over here, and I have a view here. Now, what's cool about a view is that it allows me extra controls as to how child items are placed there. And so with this view over here, I can expand it here, I can expand it like this, and I can add components into it. And this view here, I can specify how things are going to be laid out, right? So for instance, we can lay them out horizontally, vertically. You can have separations, things like that, as you're going to be seeing in a second. So let's go ahead and create a sample form. So I'm going to go ahead and drag stuff inside this view, and I'm going to just say this is login, something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. We have controls over here, 24. You can also select the font and all of these nice things. You can make it bigger. You can expand this, something like this. Okay. And you also have text height. You can set it a little bit higher right over here. You have different fonts. You have, how you want it to be centered, left justified, center, right justified, stuff like that. And so right here, what I want to do is I want things to be aligned, as columns, meaning that one on top of the other. And so that's really simple. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have my input just below, and I'm going to have another input. So this is going to be like, username, email, and then password. And then I'm going to have a button. And let's go ahead and find this button over here. You can also search for a button right here. There's the button. Really, really nice. And so now we can select the view, and you can click here and you can align them any way that you want. So if you click here, you see how it spaces them out, spaces them out, spaces them out. So you can kind of decide what you want. Okay. And this right here can be left justified, center, or right justified. We're just going to leave it on center. And if I select this, if I go back here, I have this tree. If I select just the phone, which is that main, and I click here, that's going to center it. And I can also, do justification, but there's no other elements. So it's automatically centering it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, and then maybe I can also give it a buffer, right? So at this view, I can do a padding, right? I can do a margin, or I can do a padding. Now, the difference between padding and margins is that padding adds extra space inside the widget in question. So this view. So if we were going to do padding, it would add stuff inside. Right now, what we want is we want things to be outside. So we're going to do a margin. So I'm going to create a margin. I'm going to say 50, and I'm going to exit out. And now we have a margin that's outside. If I do a padding, it's going to squish things downward because it's doing it inside. That is the difference. That is the difference. It's a different level of control. And so here we have a sample login. Okay. So I'm going to say login. Okay. And obviously we're gonna make it nicer. We're gonna make it more aesthetically pleasing a little bit later. I just want to show you the functionality right now. But one thing that I do want to do is I want this view to have more padding. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, give it more padding, 20 here, 20 here. And now it's a little bit better, and we can also expand it. We can also do this. And another thing that we can do is really interesting is that if we select the view, we have percentages. We have also fit, right? So you can fit it, meaning that it takes up as much space as it needs to, to show these, so that it's not going to be overflowing these, right? So these elements are not going to overflow. So you have fit, but you also have 100. You can put 100%. That's going to expand it all the way. And same thing for height. We have here a fixed height. We can do fit. And also we can do something called FR, which expands it all the way. Okay. And this is similar to how you do this in Flutterflow, because in Flutterflow, this would be like expanded, and this right here would be flexible. Okay, so that's kind of how you want to do it, right? And I think in this case, you can just leave fit, or you can just give it a pixel. So maybe you want to do like 300. So that expands it and automatically rearranges these elements. So one thing that you can do here is you can do fit, and then you can do padding, right? You can do padding right here. So I'm just going to do padding 50, and that expands it. And that's going to be better to make it more responsive. Okay, that's going to be better for responsiveness, right? Because now it's displayed. It expands with a little bit of padding on the side. That's better than giving it a fixed width. Okay, so that is what we have right now. So now let's go ahead and do our first action. So we're going to select the button. We're going to go into an action, and we're going to add when clicked. And now what we want to do is we want to select the action. So we're going to do user action. We're going to do login. And we're going to do username login. So now it wants a username. I'm going to do this. And we have these inputs and we have these text. And it's kind of hard to tell which is which. And so what I can do is I can select this right here, and I'm going to name it something else. So I'm going to say username, and I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to say password. Now, another cool thing that you can do is if you have like sensitive input fields like passwords, you can select it and you can scroll down and you can select a password right there. You can just enable it, and that's going to mask the input. Okay. Now, here you can see that we have an error, and that is because we started with that action, but we didn't finish. So you can always see the errors that you have here. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go this. And I'm going to open this up, and now I can do /inputs, and I can select username /inputs, and I can select password. Okay. And what's cool about Momen, and I haven't really seen this in other app builders, is that you have this action on success and action on failure. And I really, really like that, right? So you can do it here, and you can also open the flow editor, and you can do it here. But for simple ones, you can just keep it here. So an action on success, you can do a navigation somewhere. And on failure, you can display an error, right? And so you can do a toast notification. And so you can do something like show toast. And you can say error logging in. Okay, something like this. And on success, we're going to do that a little bit later. Now, one of the coolest parts about Momen is how easy it is to test stuff, right? So I can publish it, or I can click here and I can see the app compiled and executed like in just a couple of moments. Okay. So there's our app. So now I can try to log in. So I'm going to go ahead and try to log in with my account, and I forgot the username. And this is the username, James95, and I have my password. So let's go ahead and try this out. James95. And let's say I put some random password. Okay, now it's telling me error logging in because that's an error. But if I put the correct password, we don't get anything because we don't have an unsuccess. And so let's go ahead and add another page that will redirect it to the products page. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say this is products. Okay. And for now, I'm just going to be very, very simple. I'm just going to go ahead and add a component. I'm just going to do you've logged in. Okay. Just to show you the navigation. And so now I can come back and I can go back to login, action, expand this, and I can do on success, and I can do navigation. And I'm going to say pages. I'm going to say products. Okay. So now if I test it out, it should hopefully work. Okay. We need to fix this inputs. I'm going to fix that in a second, but I'm going to do James95. Okay. So now it has successfully redirected here. And this is where our list of products is going to be. And so now let me quickly fix this. This is placeholder. I'm going to say username, and I'm going to say password. And so now if we click here, it's really, really quick on subsequent loads, right? Username, and we have product list. So we were successfully able to log in, and it does the navigation to the products page. All right. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to build the products page. Okay. And here's where we're going to learn how to build lists and how to get our data. Okay. And as you're going to see throughout this tutorial, this data functionality is extremely powerful. It's really, really nice. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to build out this page. And so we're going to delete this text that we had just for testing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a component. Okay. And the component that we want is a list component. So let's go ahead and search for list. Here we have list. We're going to drag and drop it here. I also want to maximize it. I wanted to take up the width. So we're going to come here. We're going to have it take up the width. And inside this list component, you can create other components. You can place other components that are going to be repeated. Okay. Now, this list, obviously, it's fully customizable, right? You can do all kinds of borders. You can do positioning. You can do size. You have all of that, right? You have all of these amazing features here, column number, scroll direction. You can make it scroll horizontally, vertically, right? So you have tons and tons of features there. Okay. And so let's go ahead and let's come back here and let's go ahead and design our list component. So what do we want to display? Well, we want to display the product image. We want to display the name and a description. Let's take a look at our data. So we have products here. And what do we have? We have title, description, price. We can display maybe stock if we want, and we have the image. So let's do title, description, price, and the image. And then we'll see if we want to do stock. So if we come back over here, now how do we want to display it? Well, the way that we want to display it is we want it to be in a certain way, obviously, right? So this part, for instance, sometimes we want to do it like in a horizontal style, like a row. Other times we want to do it like a column, top to bottom. And so what I like to do is I like to come here and I want to add a view, and the view is super flexible because I can do a lot of interesting things, right? So I'm going to drag and drop a view right here. Okay. And now I can customize this view. Okay. So we have this view here. And if we come back over here, you can see that we have this list item and we have a view. So let me go ahead and customize it. And let me go ahead and expand it a little bit. And let me go ahead and see if I can maybe center it. And now this view allows us to customize its children in a very, very flexible way. Okay. So for instance, we can decide we want to do this, we want to do this. Do we want a layout horizontal? Do we want a layout vertical? So let's start with the horizontal layout first. And inside the view, I'm going to place some elements. So for instance, let's go ahead and start with an image. We have here an image and I'm going to place it right there. Okay. So here's our image. We can obviously make it smaller, and let me go ahead and make this left justified. Okay. And this image can have an image, that's dynamically, right? If you click on upload and you change this to data binding, you can bind a variable, right? You can also do a URL and you can bind that URL as well. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing. And so next I want to display the title. And so I need a text for that. I'm going to go ahead and drag it right there. And then I'm going to display the quantity. So I'm going to drag another text and I'm going to drag it here. Okay. So that is what we have. Now this one here, I wanted to take up more space. Okay. So I wanted to take up more space. And so if you come over here, you can do this fit here, right? On this widget here, this text, and that expands it. And that is exactly what we want. We want this to take up max amount of space. And this thing doesn't need a lot of space because it's just the quantity. Now, once we have all of these elements, you want to come back and you want to select this list and you want to go into data and you want to select your data source, right? Do you want to do remote or do you want to do, local, right? So if you select remote, we can select where we're getting the data. If you select local, then you can do data binding, right? So when you think about remote, think about it that data is externally. It's not in variables yet, right? So this data right here, it's external, right? I mean, it's kind of internal, but it's still external, right? Because when we talk about local, it's just data bindings, right? So this is like in-page, logical, constant data. And so what we need is remote. And now we can select the model. So we're going to select products. And now we have this amazing kind of a way to get the data that we want. So let's do a limit of 10. And we have a query criteria, right? So if you unselect this, you need to specify a filter, right? Because this automatically unsets it. It may not seem intuitive right off the bat, but that is how it works, right? This unsets it. And if you, so by default, it's unset. And so if you click this, you need to have a filter. So we're going to unset. I think they could have done it slightly differently. I probably would have done, have a filter that you click and you set a filter. So I would do the opposite, right? So basically I would have this filter and by default, it would be unchecked. And then if you want to check it, you can do all that. So it's the other way around. Okay. And so that is what we have. That's pretty much it, right? We have this request type query. You can also do subscription if you want here. and that will change the data, right? That will give you new data as it's coming in. All right. So now what we have this, we need to fill in the fields here, right? So I'm going to go into this hello world. I'm going to start here and I'm going to delete all that. I'm going to press this. And now what I can do is I can select in component data. We have a list, we have an item, and then we have all of these fields that we can select. So I'm going to use the title and this thing right here, same thing, going to delete all that. And so here I can do that. In component data list, item, and I can select stock. Okay, so that's going to display the stock. And then this image over here, let's take a look. Do we even have images? I think we had some like fake images there. So if you go into products, yeah, so we have these fake images. I don't know if these are real images. Let me go ahead and open this. Okay, so it's not. It's some fake images. But anyway, we can still utilize them because, later on we can, change the images and that's going to display the correct image. So we're going to come here, press this in component data list item, and then we can select this image URL. And so now let's go ahead and run our app and see how it looks. I'm going to go ahead and log in and there we have it. So as you can see, it's displaying it correctly. We want to left justify this. This is obviously not correct. I'm going to change that. And this is the stock right here. Okay. So it looks really, really nice. It looks exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and fix this. We want it to be left justified and we want to give it a little bit of a margin or padding. And so I'm going to select a margin and I'm going to create a little bit of a margin, right? So let's say 10. Okay. So that does it left and right. As you can see where the lines are, this does it top and bottom. So 10 is nice. Maybe 15. Okay. 15 is nice. This is fine. This is fine. We don't really need to do it. It's just this one, this padding is nice. Now for text over here, another thing that you can do is you can scroll down. You can do multi-line if you want, right? So that it can wrap. Okay. But typically products, they don't need to be multi-line. They need to be, brief enough so that they only fill in one line here or the space here. And that is fine. So let's go ahead and rerun it, see the changes. And this is really nice. I like the fact that it's so quick. And now it looks a lot better. So yeah, multi-line looks actually really nice. It looks really cool because if you disable multi-line, it's going to look different. So let's go ahead and try that again. Okay, you see how it pushes it. Yeah, so multi-line is good. Multi-line it nicely makes it wrap. And so right now we are able to display the products. Okay. And then later on, maybe we'll come back and we'll make some other changes to it. But right now I want to build out the functionality. All right. So now let's go ahead and create a product details stuff. Okay. So all pretty standard stuff, but as you're going to see a little bit later in the tutorial, we're going to be doing some interesting stuff as well. Okay. So I'm going to add a page and I'm going to say product detail. And how do we want it to look? Well, I'm going to start off with a view. I'm going to place this over here and I'm going to expand it. I'm going to do 100 unless, I need to do it otherwise, but this is nice. And the view allows me to do some flexible layouts. Okay. Now, how do you want to display it? Well, I'm just going to do it how I think a product detail page should look like. And so I'm going to start with an image, title, description, and a bunch of other things. Okay. So let's go ahead and have this view in this vertical layout. That's fine. And let's go ahead and start adding components. So I'm going to start with an image, place that there. I'm going to do a title text, place that there. And I am going to do another text, place that here. Oh, no, not there. It needs to be inside the view. Okay. So that so we can control its layout. So this is title, description, and what else? And maybe add to cart, right? We need a button. We need some kind of an action. So we're going to add a button. Go ahead and add it right here. And I'm going to rearrange these. So we're going to come up and now I'm going to place this right here. And that's okay. That's fine. Let's go ahead and expand this view and we're going to try a fit. Let's do this fit for now. Okay, that's good. And now we can take this view and we can kind of space it out a little. Something like this. And let's do this. That's probably too much. Now, if you put a fit, you see how it crunches it together. Well, what you can do is you can select this view and you can go over here. This is your gap. So you can put something like 20 and that expands it a little bit. And then you can obviously if you want to do padding, that's going to expand this view down. Or if you want to do margin, that's going to make it the spacing between the view and something else. So this is fine. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of padding. Let's do this. Okay, that looks a little bit better because it's a different color. And so this is nice. Okay, so we have this. Now we need to send data. Okay, so if you come to products and if they click on this view, we wanted to navigate and pass the product ID so that we can look it up and display what we need to display. I mean, we can pass the whole product as well. That is something that we can do as well. So it's up to us what we want to do. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass the product ID just to keep things simple. Now in this product detail, what we want to do is we want to define a parameter. Now, when we are passing data, we have an option between path and query. Okay, so what is the difference? Well, the main difference is that they're sent differently, but the intuitive difference, what you need to be thinking about is that query is great when we are trying to send optional parameters, right? So we have a list we're trying to filter, but if we're trying to send data and that data is needed by the target page, so on this page we need data, I would be using path instead. So I'm going to do path and I'm going to expand this and I'm going to say big int and I'm going to call this product ID. Path is perfect for this use case. I mean, you could potentially use query as well, but query works better as a filter, as something optional. Okay. So now we're going to go back into products and we're going to select this list item, right? So they can click anywhere and we're going to wire it up. So what we want is navigation. We want pages. We want product detail. And now we need to pass in the product ID. And so we can do this. And so we can click here in component data, list, item, and we want product ID, this one. Okay. And that's our path parameter. And so now if you go into product detail, that is going to get the path automatically passed to it, right? If you go into data, you see it has the product ID because we've defined it, right? And so now what we want to do is we want to load the data, and see over here, you're going to do a data source. You're going to be doing, you can just type it, products. You're going to do a query. Data limit is 1 and it automatically understands, right? So data limit is 1 because we want one product. We don't want to unset filter. We want the filter to be set. And here's where we're going to create the filter. So what we're going to do is we are going to say on product, right? That is correct. We're going to say ID is equal to, we're going to come here. We're going to go into in-page data, parameter path, product ID. And you can configure more here. You can create all kinds of conditions, all kinds of interesting things. And you have when request status change, when success, you have all of these callbacks here that you can use as well. Okay. And so that looks good. So let's take a look at what we have here. Navigation missing. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and fix this. And looks like that is not set. Come back over here in component data, list, item ID. Okay, now there's no issues, nothing of that sort. We can close this. And now if we go into product detail, we can display the stuff. So let's go ahead and display the title. We can click over here. Let me delete that. Click that. And what we can do is we can say in-page data, and we have data source now. So we can say source 1 and we can do title. And here we can do description. Delete this. In-page data, data source. Oh, we also want the price, right? So in fact, we can click here, right click, and we can duplicate this text. Okay. And this is going to be price. Page data, data source. That's what we have. And so that's going to be the price. We need to delete this. That's going to be the title, description, price. And this is going to say, okay, so now we have this flow. I can maybe make the width a little bit bigger. You can do fit if you want, but I would probably make it a bit bigger if you want 50. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out. Open this, go ahead and log in. Should be James 95. Okay, so now we can click on it, and guess what? Now it's displayed here. Now we're not displaying the image. We're going to fix that. And there's a problem here. Okay, so there's a problem with padding. So if you click this, go ahead and close that. If you click this, we need to make sure that it's being displayed correctly. And so what we want to do is we want to maybe do multi-line. Okay, so that it at least wraps. And another thing that I want to do is I want to have this view. I want to have a padding, also left to right. Okay, so I'm going to do 30 and 30 and let's see how it looks now. Okay, so now it looks a lot better. Okay, it's centered, which is what we want. We have this. We can change the font. We can get the image displaying there. And for the image, we can just do it like we did it before. URL, bind, in-page data, data source, image URL. Okay, so that's going to display the image. We're going to fix that in a second. And let's go ahead and change this a little bit. Let's make it bold. And let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Something like this, maybe 22. Let's make description a little bit bigger. And one thing that you can do is you can select the price and you can click here, and that allows you to format it, right? So you can do thousands, you can do distance, countdown, this countdown, this countdown, and I'm going to do no formatting. And what I want to do is I want to put the $sign. Okay, so something like this, and let's go ahead and see how it looks. All right. And now we have this and we have the price. Now we need to make sure this also wraps. Click here, scroll down, multi-line. There we go. Click here, and that looks much better. In fact, I want to do the same thing for this. I want to give it padding because you can see that this is padding because it's part of the view. Margin would be outside the view. So that's the main difference. And I want to do the same thing in this list. I wanted to do padding here as well. So let's do padding on top. Let's do 30. Okay, so that's going to look a lot better. Let's see. Let's double check that. It looks good. Okay, so now it's a little bit better. But you see how it's scrollable and it's only taking up this space. We need to fix that. So that is where we need to select list. And what we want to do is we want the height to be this. We want it always with lists. Well, most of the time with lists. You want to have them expand. I mean, you can still put stuff at the end, but at least the list is going to take up the maximum space. We have other settings. We have refresh and load, which is cool. You can do that. You can have list header. Actually, list header is nice too. You can do that if you want, but this is kind of self-explanatory. So now if you run this, and now it looks a little bit better, and see how it's scrollable, it automatically loads. Okay, so it looks like this actually has an image. If you click here, you see this is the only one. And it looks pretty decent. It looks really nice, actually. I really like it. Maybe we want this to take up the whole page, actually, because it's a detail page. Maybe later on we'll have more stuff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and we can do this. And that will take up the whole page. Now, I don't know if this is the right approach given our setup. Yeah, it's probably not the right approach because you see how it expands it all. And so we don't want it to have fixed. Let's go ahead and have this height. Let's make it fit. I think fit is the best because we can control it like this. We can still control it, and there's still no reason to have it. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that we can do, but I think right now this is the best approach. And so now let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so if we click here, that looks pretty decent. That looks pretty decent. If we also click here, and if you take a look at the tablet, yeah, it looks nice. Maybe with width, we do want it to be 100% so that it expands it. Why do we have price there twice? So that looks pretty nice. Width 100, and then height. Okay, I see what the issue. It did not carry it through. So if we select, and so if we have this, we see the height is fit. And if we come in here, we can do the same thing here. We can do width and we can do fit. Okay, and that expands it automatically. Okay, and so now if we run it, it's displaying them correctly and it's displaying them here. Okay, and now we can add to cart, and we can also list some review information, stuff like that as well. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to display reviews here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we can simply come over here. We can duplicate this, and now we can just display the reviews. Okay, so I typically want to display like the number of the reviews and the average review. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So if we click here, we have our in-page data. We have our data source. And if we scroll down, we have this review ID. Okay, and if we click here, that gets us back into the review table. Now, we have an issue here is that we are seeing a record. We're not seeing like an aggregate, like a count or anything like that, which is what would show up if we were trying to get multiple records. Right now, we're just seeing one record. And I think the reason we have that is because we made a mistake when we were setting up our data. So if I go into product, and we take a look at the reviews, we see this is one-to-one, but a product will not have just one review. It's going to have multiple reviews, right? A product can have thousands, tens of thousands of reviews. And so if we come over here, we can see product and we have reviews one-to-one. So this needs to be fixed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to add this again, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a relation. And so this is going to be one-to-many, right? So target table is reviews. Relation is one-to-many. In target table, is going to be product ID, and in current is going to be reviews. Let's do that. Let's update our backend. And so now product reviews is one-to-end, one-to-many. Let's update our structure. Okay, updated successfully. And so now let's take a look at our data. So we have products here, and this is where the reviews are going to be. Okay, so it's the exact same setup as, well, no, it's not the exact, it's different than categories. Because if you go into categories, you see how this is, once you see this, you know that you're on the one side of the one-to-many relationship. Okay, so if I come over here, well, we don't have any reviews. We need to create reviews. But if I come into products, I can potentially have many reviews. Okay, and that means that if we go back here, and we click here and we delete all this, and you click here and you go to in-page data, data source, you see, and you go into reviews. Now you have your count, you have your rating, right? You have average, you have these aggregate numbers. You no longer have like the record, right? So now you know you're on the right track. And so now let's go ahead and put some data in there, just a couple of records maybe into reviews, and then add them to the product, right? Because they're going to be the product reviews. So we're going to go into database, reviews, and let's go ahead and insert a row. Let's do it manually. So I'm going to say rating is 5 on a scale of 1 to, well, let's do on a scale of 1 to 10. So this is 10. Excellent product. We'll buy again. User ID. Okay, so this is going to be the user leaving the review. I'm just going to say James, and product ID products, right? So this is the other side. This is where, you know, this is for what product it is, right? So I'm going to click here and I'm going to say this is this, or let's say 20, product ID 20. I'm going to say confirm. And now we have it there. Okay. And so now I'm going to say create. That has created it. And now if I go into products, guess what? One of these products has one review. Now, if I create another review and link that to another product, let's say another user left it, that product is going to have 2 reviews. Okay. So I'm going to create another one, 8. Comment, or let's do another review, 5, 6, need to improve, something like this. And now I'm going to go saying I left this review again, but for a different product. And let's say this is now for product 18, confirm. Okay. And now I'm going to hit create. That creates it. And now if I go back to products, I can see that this product has 1 review. This product has that 1 review. It's from the same person. It's from me, but it doesn't matter. Is that our relationships are now working. And so now let's go back to our page, come back here, and now let's go ahead and do the following, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and I want to display the number of reviews in parentheses, and then the average outside the parentheses, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to say in page data source, scroll down, reviews. This is perfect. Count. Okay, we're going to do count, and then this is going to be the average. Custom in-person data source. We're going to go into reviews. We're going to go into rating, and we want to get the average. Okay, so now we have the count and we have the average. And so now when we run the app, we're going to see this data, but we need to make sure that we're looking at that specific product. So let me go ahead and check which product. So if we go into products, we can see that this has a review. So yeah, the first 20 and 18 has 1 review. So let's go ahead and run our app and make sure we select that product. So let's go ahead and run this. All right, let's go ahead and log in. All right, so this one I believe is 20 and this is 18. Okay, so you see 1 review, 10. We need a back button, right? We do need a back button. Go ahead and refresh this. So if we come back, this is 18, I believe. Yeah, and it has 1 review, 6. And so as you can see, reviews are working as expected. Another thing that I want to do is I want to create a back button, okay? And for this, we need another kind of layer on top of this that has the button there, right? Maybe we can even have the title, that sort of thing, right? A header for this view of some sort. So we have this view here. And so what we can do is we can add another view on top of it that will display this information. So we're going to click here. We're going to do a view. And what I can do is I can place this view right there. Okay. And I want to make sure that it's outside. So yeah, it's inside. That's not what we want. We want it to be outside. So let me go ahead and delete that. So I'm going to drag this view. I'm going to put it below it. Okay. That's a lot easier than, and as you can see, and now I can put this view above it. And this view can have like header information. And for that, we need to have, we need to add some more stuff into it. And that way we can control the height and all that. And so I'm going to come here. I'm going to go into text, and I want to make sure that this view is horizontally laying things out. So this is going to be our header. And then I'm going to have maybe an icon. I'm going to have a button, and this button is going to say go back. So now that we have this, we can go to the height and we can control, because we have stuff in there, right? So what we want is not this. We want to do fit, and we want the width to be 100%. You can do fit if you want, but that's not what we want. We want it to be 100%. And now what we can do is we can also center it like this. Okay, we can center it out. And what we can do is we can do padding, something like this. In fact, we can do that. Remove the padding, so that way they're all the way back. That is exactly what we want. And this could be the header, right? We can say something like product detail, or the name of the product. We can have the name of the product. Title, I'm going to make it bigger. Let's do 30. 30 is nice. We're going to do left justify. It doesn't really matter because we have justification on the other one. Multi-line. Yeah, we can do multi-line. And let's do padding on the view level. So we want to have padding, maybe something like this, maybe a little bit smaller. And then this one is going to be the button. And we can say go back. Something like this. And width, we want to do this. No, not this. Fit. Yeah, we want to make it, we actually want to do it in pixels. So maybe 100 pixels. I think that's going to look better. And so now we have this go back. We attach an action to it, and we're going to do navigation, pages, go back. Very simple. And we have the screen name, and we can just go products. Okay, and so that's what we have. Now, another thing that we can do is we can change the background color. Click over here. I don't know, maybe something like this. And so now if you click this, this is what we have. Now we need to make sure we have it correctly done on this level as well. So I'm going to do a fit. Oh, I'm going to do horizontal. Now I'm going to have this option. I'm going to do 100%. And the height needs to be fit. And we are going to center it. I'm going to do 10, and let's do a little bit of padding. Do a little bit of padding, something like this. And I want this, I want the color, right? Background color, so something similar. It's not exactly similar, because if you want to do similar, you can come back and you can take a look what the color is, right? You can just copy it, come back here and paste with this selected. So now we have this go back. We have this title, make it a little bit bigger, make it bold. All right, let's go ahead and run it. So now we need to make sure, we need to make sure that it has, it's multi-line, and we want to make sure that we have this expansion. So on this text, we need to make sure that we have this expansion. So we're going to do width. We're going to have this expansion. And now let's take a look. Like it over here, click here, and that looks better. Obviously, I mean, the only way that we can do it is to wrap it, right? Hopefully they're not going to be this long. Maybe we can make the text a little bit smaller. But at the end of the day, it needs to wrap. So it's going to look like this. And if you click back, it's going to go back. And so if it needs to show somehow, and then we can go back. And I want to do a little bit of padding on the bottom. So padding is perfect here because this has a background color. And so we want to make sure that the padding is right, is correct there. I'm going to do 10 here. Okay, that looks better. And let's do it here on the tablet as well. All right. So that looks a lot better. Okay, so now we have this top bar, and we can even add this top bar as well here, right? So we can take this view, we can copy this view, come over here, and we can paste it. Okay, and now we can bring it back up, and now we have this view here. And here we're going to change this, obviously. It's going to say products, and it's not going to have a button. Okay, so we're going to hide it. That is one way to do it. And now I want to do, I want to make sure it's set up correctly. Oh, that looks much better. That looks much better now. Products, we have this, we need to just delete them. I'm just going to make it invisible. That looks a lot better. All right, let's go ahead and run this and see how it looks. All right, that looks a lot better. That looks a lot better. That looks a lot cleaner. And so next, I want to work on the cart functionality. Now, the next thing that I want to work on is this add to cart functionality, okay? And this is a little bit more complex than you may realize because we need to cover a lot of bases here, okay? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we are pulling the data here, okay? Because this functionality, it needs to see if there's already a cart created and if there is already a product created. Because if this product is in the cart, then we simply want to increment the quantity, okay? Because that's how the cart works. It handles not just the products, but their corresponding quantity as well, okay? There's a couple of things. So the first half of this technique is we need to load the data, okay? And so the way that we do it is we have to do it here. We need to do it off this tab because you cannot load data as part of an action in Momen, okay? So if you come over here, like you may be thinking, well, I can just do it when on page loads. Well, if you come over here, there's no way to load data. So there's data mutation here, right? So they've separated it, right? Because they have this data tab here. And so we already have get products, which gets us this product information because we're filtering by the inputted product ID. And so now what we need to do is we need to get the cart, and we also need to get to see if there's this product exists in the cart already. Okay, and so this means we need two queries, okay? And we need two queries because we need to know if there's a cart and if there's already a, if the product is there already, okay? Because if the product is not there already, but we have the cart, then we need to add the product into the cart. We do not need to recreate the cart, okay? So we can simply click over here, and what we can do is we can create the first query, and that first query is going to see if there is a user cart. So the data limit is 1, and we're going to create a filter. And what I want to do is user ID, because we have that relationship, right? That one-to-one relationship where a user can have one card. So we can immediately come to the ID, and then we can come here and we can say logged in user ID. Okay. And so this right here, then we can rename it. So it's easier to understand. This just says get card. And so it's the user's card. Now, another query that we also need is going to get the, to see if there's a product, this specific product exists in the card. Okay. And we can do that via another query. So we can simply come over here, and then we can immediately select which table that we want to work with. I want to work with cart items, okay? I want to see cart items. We are going to do a query, and we're just querying one item because we are looking for that specific product. And then we have this filter over here. So I'm going to create a filter. And what I want to do is I want to see if there's a product there. Right? So I'm going to say product ID because we have this link there. I'm going to say product ID is equal to the product that we're passing. Okay. So there's this product that we're passing in page data, this product ID. Okay. And this is going to give us the existence, whether that product exists already, right? So I can just say get cart items. Now these three queries will execute independently of one another. Okay. There's no dependencies or anything like that. And that is fine with us, right? Because we're getting products, which is completely separate from this. Then we have this get cart, and then we have get cart items. And these are kind of separate because get cart can fail. Then this is going to fail automatically because there's no cart items if there's no cart. Or get cart can succeed, and this can also succeed or fail depending on if that product exists. So that is absolutely fine. And so now what we can do is let's go ahead and display the product so that we can see once we add it so that it's there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a component. I'm going to add this text. I'm just going to put it right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go into in-page data source, and I can select anything. So let's say we add this product, which means that after we've done it, it's going to be in here. So we can go to get cart items, and we can say, well, we want to display the product ID, right? And we're going to display the product ID, and let's say we want to display the title there. Okay. And so that will display the product that's in the cart. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to have this add to cart functionality. Okay. We are displaying the stuff that is done. And now we need this add to cart functionality. And so let me check my data just to make sure that it is empty. Cart, database, cart items is empty. Carts are empty. Cart items is empty. Okay. So that's great. So now we can go back, and we can have this logic there. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my action, And I'm just going to add it. I'm not going to be checking if we have it, the existence of it or not. We're just going to keep it simple for now, just to make sure that it works. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to do requests. I'm going to do data mutation, and I'm going to say, well, we're just going to create the cart first, and then we're going to create the cart items. And the reason we need to do it in this order is because you can't create cart items without knowing which cart they belong to. So I'm going to say insert cards, and we need to assign it to a user ID. So we're going to go into logged in user ID. So nothing for cart items because we haven't created it yet. And so on success, we're going to do this. We're going to go into request, data mutation, and now we're going to say insert cart items. And here we can say, well, I want one quantity. The ID is what we got back. So result, this ID. And there is a problem. We can't enter the product, right? We can't enter the product. Like I had to look at that a couple of times, but there's no way to add this product. And why is that? Well, if we go into data and if we go into cart items, which is where we're trying to add this product, there's a one-to-one relationship, okay? And so what that means is that from the product side, we have cart items one-to-one relationship, but that's not exactly true, right? Our product can be added to many carts, right? So this user can add it to their cart, that user can add it to their cart. So it's a really one-to-many relationship, because one product can be added to multiple carts. And so that is the reason why we can't add it here, right? Because the relationship is not correct. Okay, I just realized it. So what we need to do is we need to fix the relationship. And so we're going to go back to products, and we need to make sure that it's a one-to-many relationship to cart items from the product side, right? You always want to start from the one side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete cart items, but in fact, it's the same thing for order items, right? These are, they work the same, except the difference is when you check out, it becomes an order. So what we need to do is we need to recreate these two relationships. I'm going to go ahead and delete these here, and I'm going to recreate them. So I'm going to click here. The target table is cart items. The relationship is one-to-many. The relation name in the target table, product ID, and then the relation name in the current table. Well, here we don't really care because we are not going to be looking at the product and the products table and see which products are in which carts, right? Maybe for analytics, but it's not something we're going to be working with. We're going to be working with cart items because we're going to be working with cart items directly and then pulling the product. So we're going to start from here. So this field is not really going to be used for us. And when it's not really going to be used, I like to call it a certain name. So this is in the current table. So this is basically product. So I'm going to say cart items, and I'm just going to call it, I'm going to give it _0. And so it's there, it's usable, but just so that I know this is not the way that I want to pull up these records. Okay. I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing for order items, right? I'm going to add a relationship. The target table is order items. The relation type is one-to-many. Relation name in the target table is again product ID. And then in the current name, this is going to be in the products is going to be order items. And I'm going to do this again with 0 so that I know this is not something I'm going to be working with. I'm going to say okay. Now I'm going to update our backend so that, the app understands the changes. We do this migration. And now if we go back to our app, we should be able to do it. Okay, so if you take a look here, let me take a look. Let me go ahead and delete that. And let's start over. So in order to add, we're going to click here, request, data mutation, insert cards. Okay, so this should look fairly similar. Insert ID, because we didn't change the relationship on cards. We only changed it on cart items and order items. So this is going to be the logged in user. We're not doing anything here. And then on success, we're going to do request, data mutation, insert cart items. And now we should see product ID. And in fact, we see it twice. Let me double check. Why do we see it twice? Cart items, product ID. It's only once. Product ID, products, cart ID, carts. Yeah, it's only once. Huh, interesting. Okay, let me check the fields. Nothing is here. Let me go ahead and look at cart items. Yeah, looks good. Okay, let's come back here and product ID. Yeah, it looks like it's duplicated. Interesting. Let me go ahead and refresh this just to double check. It should not be duplicated. And so now if I click here, I go to my action, I pull this, and let's do on success, request, data mutation, insert cart items. So if I click here and I update it, let's go ahead and update that. Okay, let's be patient. All right, it's updating, and now update is successful. Okay, so let's try that again. Click over here, open this up, and open this up, and now it's perfect. Okay, so if you see see something that shouldn't be there, make sure that you update this. Okay, so now we can enter the product ID because this is the many side of the relationship. Okay, and so we're just going to do one quantity. Cart ID, well, this is going to be here, result data, insert, and we're going to get this ID here. And then product ID, well, we know the product ID, right? This is the result data, in-page data, this product ID. And one thing that I want to check first before we run it is we're displaying something here. So if I go over here, let me go ahead and double check. And so we can click here. We have in-page data and data source. Remember, we have 3 data sources. So I only want get cart items. I want to get the specific items. I don't want to get the cart because I want to get the items. And now we have the get cart items. Here we have the quantity, we have the carts, we have the products. And so what do I want to do? Well, I want to display the product ID. Okay. And I'm just going to do title. Okay. And the reason we can do that, even though that cart might have multiple products, is we're only fetching one product. So if we go back to our data here, get cart items, remember we have this data limit. We're only fetching one product. And so now we're going to be displaying that, one product there. Okay. And so now let's go ahead and run our app, hit login. And so if I click, let's say I pick centralized, and right now nothing is being displayed because there's nothing in the cart. So I'm going to say add to cart, and we don't get an error message, nothing. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on this again. And now we're showing a product. And so now if we go to our data, guess what? Cart items, database here. We have a cart with one item. Right? And this is the item here, and this is for this product here. Okay? And so as you can see, now we have the right structure there. And so if we add more products, and so let's say I run my app and I want this profound. I add it here and we get an error. Why are we getting an error? Well, that is because it's trying to recreate the cart, but we already have a cart. Remember, a user can only have one cart. So if we go to our data here, we can see that we already have a cart here. We have this cart, and let's say we want to create another cart, right? Well, if you insert it here, you just need the user ID, okay? And so if I put that there, it's not going to let me because we have a one-to-one relationship, right? A user has already a cart. Duplicate key value, right? Because that's a one-to-one relationship, okay? So it automatically created these constraints for me. And so this is nice because we have this constraint. The user cannot have multiple carts, which doesn't really make sense. But another user can have multiple carts. And so now that we have this working correctly, the next thing that we need to do is we need the logic to check whether A cart exists, and B, an item exists in the cart. And so now let's go ahead and create this logic so that it knows when to create a cart and when to add a new product instead of incrementing the quantity. And so when the user clicks here, we need to take some precautions. So we're going to open this up, and we need to have a first condition that's going to see if there's a cart already there. Because if a cart exists, we don't need to create it. If it doesn't exist, we need to create it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a conditional. Okay, when we do that, now we can see the different conditions. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to click here, and we want to create this condition. And so this condition is going to say that in page data, data source, I'm going to say get cart. I'm going to say self-option because we're not looking for a specific field. We're looking for the existence of the cart. And here we're going to say is null. Okay. And so this means that this condition is going to go on this branch if we don't have a cart. And this is a nice scenario because if we don't have a cart, then we can do everything. We can create the cart and we can add the initial product there. Okay. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this action. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this action here. And that pastes everything. We can delete it here. And so now what I want to do is I want to rename it. So no cart, okay? And so if there's no cart, it's easy. We can just insert and we can just insert the product with a quantity of 1. Now, on the other hand, there is a cart, right? So cart exists. And here we need to see if that product exists, because if it doesn't exist, then we need to insert it. If it exists, then we need to increment the quantity. Okay, so cart exists. So we are going to have another condition. And here we're going to say product doesn't exist. And you might have noticed that I like to have these not exists on the left-hand side, because that simplifies the flow. And then as we get more and more intricate, okay, it exists, but this doesn't exist, or it exists, but this doesn't exist. I want to move it to the right-hand side. Okay, so keep things keep your no's on the left-hand side and keep your yeses on the right-hand side, okay? So let's shorten it. And this is going to say cart exists and product, no product, okay? So no product in cart. And what do we need to do? Well, we need to add the product. So for this, we're going to copy this, paste the action here, and then we're going to be inserting the product. Now we need to know where we need to insert it, right? So it says here cart exists. And for that, we need to pull it up, right? So we have this in page data, we have our data source, we have this get cart, and I can simply get the ID. Okay, because that exists, right? We can access all of that. Let's say the product does exist, right? So this is going to be product exists. And that means that we have the cart and we have the product. And that's like your rightmost chances of that happening. Okay. And so here, what do we need to do? Well, we need to get the cart item ID, and we have it, right? We have it because we've executed the query already. And so what that means is all we need to do is update. We just need to do an update cart items, and we're going to be incrementing the quantity. This is none. Cart ID carts. This is the cart ID. We're not modifying this. So this is none. Okay. And we're not modifying this. And now all we need is a filter. We need to filter it by the cart ID. And we can do that because we already have that info, right? So we can just ID equals to in page data, data source, get cart items ID. And we already we already gotten the data that we need. And so this should hopefully do what we need to do, right? Because remember, we've already gotten the data. So that data already exists. We've gotten the cart, a possible cart. And we've also gotten the possible cart item. Okay. So if there's no cart, we do everything. If there's a cart, but there's no product, we insert the cart item, right? We have the product ID here. On the other hand, if there's a cart and the product exists, then no problem. We just increment the quantity and then we get the product. Well, we first get the product, then we do all of this, and we know the cart ID because we already executed that query. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what's happening. So it's telling us it's updating one field. That's fine. That should still work. And now let's go ahead and see if this works. Okay. We didn't change the database, so we don't need to redeploy it. Let's see if this works. All right. So it loaded, and let's take a look at our cart just to see what we're dealing with. So we have this cart. A user has a cart and they have this one item there, right? So if you click here, this is the item that we have. It's a cart item. And this is the product that's in that item. So this is product ID 10. I think it was decentralized. And so if we click on centralized, it's displaying it, right? So I can do add to cart, and that should increment the quantity. So let's go ahead and refresh it. And in fact, well, it didn't increment the quantity. It actually created another record. So it needs to increment the quantity, and it did not. So let's go ahead and see. So this is correct, but now there are two items. And so we need to make sure whether it got the ID. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and display the ID here just to make sure that we're dealing with the right ID. So let's come back here. And so we have this text here for debugging. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add, instead of the title, I also want, in addition to the title, I want the ID of the cart item. So we're going to do in page data. Data source, get cart items, and I want to get the ID of the cart item. Okay, now let's go ahead and run it and see if it's the right ID that we're dealing with. Okay, I'm going to click on this, and it's ID 4. Okay, so it knows the ID, and so let's take a look at the database, cart items. Okay, so it's ID 4 because that was the first one that it pulled essentially, because we have two. Okay, so ID 4, and so now when we do add to cart, it should pull the one that we're dealing with, right? It should get the right one, and it should update it. Let's go ahead and check our flow just to make sure that everything is correct. Let's go ahead and move this. This is really nice. I can have this here. I can see what's happening. And let's go check our action. We're going to open this up. And so no cart, this is fine. Cart exists. So it went ahead and it did this insert. So let's go ahead and double check. Let's check this condition. We don't have a condition. We don't have a condition. That's the problem, right? So what we need to do is we need to check if, we forgot the condition. That's why I went here. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to do in-page data, data source. I'm going to do get cart items. Self option, and this is null. Okay, that means the product was not found, right? That is good. Okay, so if we click that, it is null, and that's the same thing here. This is null also. We don't really need this, and that's fine. And now this is null. Okay, so this one is going to go by default. Okay, which means it's not null, which means we need to update it. And while we're at it, let me go ahead and take a look at this issue here. And it's something with the updates. Let's go ahead and open this. I think we need to do one. We need to put the value here. I think that's the issue. Okay, now that went away. That was the problem. Okay, let's try that again. Because we need to put the number that it needs to increment by. It's not just increment. It's not automatic, like in a Flutter Flow, for instance. Click here. This is in the cart. We do add cart, and that should increment the quantity. So if we go back here, and there we see it, 2 quantities, and we can even display it, right? So if we go over here, we can display it here, just to make sure, just to show you how it works, right? So we can go back here, design, and I can just do this, and I have in-page data, data source, get cart items, and I can just display the quantity. And I really like that the Momen follows relationships like this. This is so nice and so powerful. And so we don't need to create views. We don't need to do anything. It's kind of like having GraphQL built in, right? Because we can just get the data that we want. I really, really like this. This is such a powerful feature of Momen, right? Powerful functionality. So let's go ahead and do this again. We should have the cart because we haven't checked it out. We haven't deleted it. We don't have any logic for that. And so now it's showing us 2. I can add to cart, and we're not automatically refreshing. Come back here, it's 3. Okay. And so that is what we have. And so the next thing that I want to do is I want to have a page that will display the cart. We already have the cart. Now we just need to display it and do some minor manipulation. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to display the shopping cart so that the user can see what's in their shopping cart. And for that, we can start from scratch, or we can just use one of our existing list type pages. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this shopping cart here, and I'm going to rename this, and I want to make sure that it's a little bit the height. There we go. The height. It's a little bit. It has a height so that everything fits. And now what we can do is we can query the shopping cart. Okay, so we're going to go into our data. We are not going to be querying products. We're going to be querying we want the cart items. All right. And we need a filter. And so for the filter, we need to come back. We don't need a limit here. And let's say a limit 10, but it's going to expand automatically. And we want to have a filter where the cart ID is the logged in user. So we're gonna walk these relationships here. We're gonna go to cart ID, and we're gonna go to user ID, and we're gonna say ID is equal to logged in user. Okay, you see how nice it is to walk through these relationships. And now we have the list of cart items, because that's what we care about. But we needed to go back to cart ID, then find the user and all of that. It's very complex. And you'll have to create views and Supabase and all that. But here you can simply walk it back. So now, let's go ahead and display the products, right? So, this is going to be the product image. So we can simply delete all this, come back here. And what do we want to do? Well, we have in component data. We have the item, and now we can go to product ID and we can go to the title. Okay, very simple. For the title, same thing. Or did we have it correctly? Let me see. Not the title? No, it should be. Title is the next one. in component data, list, item, product ID, and image URL. That's what we want to do. And here we want to do, oh no, that's stock. Where's our title? It's this one. I deleted it. That's why I can select it. In component, list, item, product ID. And then we have this, which is the stock. In component data, list, item, quantity. And that's going to list the stuff that we have. So let's go ahead and create a link. So we have an error somewhere because we have this view. It has an action, I think. Or no, this view has an action. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete this. And so let's go ahead and fix this. List item. We need to fix our list. No, list item. We need to delete that. Okay, now we're good. All right, so now we need a link to this, right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a nav bar eventually, but right now I want to go ahead and I want to have a button here. So we have the shopping cart. No, not shopping cart. Oh, wait, what did I do? Products, item, title was working on, this is shopping cart. So it says products. It should say shopping cart. Maybe I modified the wrong thing. Shopping cart. And this should say products. And this says quantity. Let me double check. List. We need cart items. Yeah, I reversed it. And this one, products. Okay. So this should be the other way around. So this should be shopping cart and this should be products. And just to double check, data, products. Okay, so this should be products, and that means that I need to change this. I'm just going to call this, and then I'm going to change. Okay, nice and easy. And this is our shopping cart. Yeah, stock and quantity. Perfect. Okay, so now let's go on products and let's create a button. It's good that we made it invisible because now we have a use for it. And I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to say just shopping cart. I'm just going to say cart. And that's going to navigate us. That needs to navigate to shopping. All right, let's test it out. We still have our shopping cart saved. All right. So now it goes directly to the shopping cart. And it's right. But the reason it's doing that is because we've set it as a homepage. So we're going to set this as the homepage. This is the homepage right here. Okay, so products, click here. You can see that this product is in the shopping cart. Go back, cart. Did we forget the, let's go back. Let's get it working. Navigation, pages, shopping cart. All right, let's do this again. No, here, cart, and there it is. And now it's in the shopping cart. And then we can go back. And for that, I need to create a nav bar, right? So let me go ahead and refresh it for now. We will need to create a nav bar eventually. But let's say I come in here and I want to add profound. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to go back. If I click on profound, it pulls it, right? 7 is the ID and 1. And then if I go back here, I go to cart, it's now here. Okay, so shopping cart works great, but I'd like to add the ability to decrease or delete the item. Okay, so we can have like delete quantity. Let's do delete for now. Just delete the whole thing. We'll do it later. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button. There's our button. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say like X for delete. Just to test that out. We're going to move it back. Okay, and I'm going to give this a little bit of padding or margin. Let's do margin. And what we can do is we can just do, okay, just some right margin. And that's going to delete it. I can change the color. Something like this, maybe a little bit redder. And so now we can give it an action. And so what do we want to do? Well, we want to delete this from cart items, right? Just delete it straight. I'm just going to do delete cart items, and we need a filter because we don't want to delete all the cart items, right? And so here we can say, well, we want to delete where ID is equal to in component data list item ID, because that's just going to delete this cart item. And on success, we can simply do a refresh. So you can just search for refresh. You have a bunch of other ones, login data, component management, refresh cell. And what we want to do is we want to, we can refresh the cell, but I want to do whole refresh. So I'm going to do a refresh and I'm going to select and I want to refresh the shopping cart. I'm going to do this list. Okay. So let's try this out and it's gone. And now we can do this here and it's gone. We can refresh this and now we can come to this virtual. We can add it here And in fact, when we add it, we can also refresh it if we want. And now it is here and we can delete that. And so in fact, let's go ahead and do that for add to cart as well. Let's do a quick refresh. It's going to be easier to do it here. You can just do refresh, refresh this, add refresh target. What are we refreshing? Product detail. Okay. So we just cover all our bases. Okay. No issues. Let's restart our app, load our app, come to virtual. Virtual is in the cart. Do this. And then you see how to refresh it. It's instant. It's really nice. It doesn't reload the page. It actually refreshes the data. Really nice. And now it's here. Add this. It's here. Go back. Cart. Look at this. Delete. Delete. And we need a nav bar to go back, which is something that I'm going to do. But so far, really, really nice. And we're going to be deleting this. This is obviously only for debugging, right? And then we can go to cart. Looks good. Now, the next thing that I want to work on is a very, very interesting functionality. We're going to be building a recommendation engine using this AI functionality. But before that, I actually went ahead and I re-imported realistically looking products, okay? Because before we had like a bunch of products that were, you know, just some random names and confusing. And here I have actually like Apple products. So these are realistic products. Unfortunately, the description is not very realistic, but it doesn't really matter. And we also have realistic categories, okay? Because we need, you know, realistic products and realistic categories to see if the recommendation engine is going to be working, okay? And so this AI is amazing because there's not a lot of no-code tools that have it. So kudos to Momen for having this here. It's actually built in. So let's go ahead and let me show you how this works. So we're going to add an AI agent here, and let me go ahead and update this. Now, the first thing here is the model. Okay, so I have some points here, and I think you are given some points to start that you can use this model. So I'm going to be using 4.0 mini. Just these default settings, simple image processing, just complete defaults. And now we need to configure it. So the first thing that we're looking at is the inputs. What is going to be the input? Now the input here is going to be the user. We are going to provide the user, and based on the user's cart information, it's going to be recommending different products, right? So as they have their cart, maybe in the second list below the main card, we're going to say, here are some recommendations. Do you want to add these recommendations? Okay. So there's not going to be any dynamic inputs because the user is available inside the flow. We don't need to specify it here. Now, these things we do need to specify. So we have a role, we have goals, and we have constraints. Okay. So what is the role? I'm going to say you are an expert recommendation engine. Goal, you will recommend product IDs. You will recommend products based on the user's shopping cart. Okay. And constraints, generate 5 product recommendations in JSON format. Okay. Now, the next thing that we can possibly furnish the AI agent with is either context or tools or and tools, right? You can do this or both of them, of these if you want. Now, in our case, we're going to be furnishing data, right? We're not going to be furnishing functions, although that's also a great option, but we're going to be furnishing data. And so I'm going to click here and I'm going to select, well, I wanted to recommend products, but I also wanted to look at my cart items. Okay. Now, Momen understands that, you know, sometimes you want to recommend, you want to give them the whole, you know, products, table data. And other times you want to filter it by the user. And so for products, we're going to submit all the products. But for cart items, we need to filter it by the user, right? So it's going to link to cart ID and that's going to link to the user. So we can click here. And so here I can use a limit of 10 and I can say, well, I want to filter by cart ID and then user ID and then this ID. And I want to make sure that the ID of the cart is equal to the logged in user. And that's it. Okay, so now it's going to look at our cart items, my cart items, your cart items, not everybody's cart items. Okay, so we have this products. We can click over here and we want to unset the filter because we wanted to look at all the products. We don't really care. Okay, and so now we have 2 of these here. And the last thing that you want to do is, because we're not, you know, we're not doing any tooling or anything like that. we wanted to output in a structured format. And the way that we wanted to output as product IDs, okay? That is the way that we wanted to output, because later on we can get the actual products from this, okay? So I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna say, I want an array of integers, and I want to say these are going to be our products, and I'm going to hit save. And now we have our mock input, right? We have our debug area here, and it's giving me the user ID, right? Because that is the input. It knows we need the user ID because that is the input to one of our data tables here, okay? So let me go ahead and update my backend here. And now I can start a conversation. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I have some products in my cart. Right now, my cart is empty because I re-imported new products and new categories. So we're going to go back to our app and we're going to run it, and we're going to add some products to our shopping cart. And so if I go to my cart, it is, oh, I have a product here. So let me go ahead and delete it. Let me go ahead and refresh it. And let's say I want to add this one, and I want to add this one. Okay, so now if I go back and I go to the cart, we have two of these products here. Okay, so now if I go to my data, I should see some cart items, as you can see here. So we've added them, and I have a shopping cart, right, with two items, which is perfect. So now I can go into AI, I can go to this agent, and I can start a conversation. Okay, so I can just, we don't have any inputs, we have a bunch of prompts, and that's great. So we can start a conversation and see what it recommends. And so here's what it's recommending. Products 21, 22, 23, 24, 21 to 25. Okay? And so now if we go to our data and we go to products and we take a look at our database, we can see that these are the products that it's recommending, right? So we have these titles here. These are the products. And so it's actually recommending just straight up a list of products. So let's see if we can tune this AI a little bit better. And so let's say you're an expert product, right? You will recommend products based on the user's shopping cart. C, review the shopping cart products, product titles, and based on those, recommend products in the products table. Review the shopping cart product titles in the cart items, and based on those, recommend products in the product stage. Recommend 5 product recommendations in JSON format. Output the product IDs in JSON format. Okay, so let's try something like this. Let's update our backend. All right, let's try this out. So let's go ahead and start another conversation. Now, if you click here on prompts, you can see the exact data that's being sent. So this is the role, goals, context, and it's also setting the constraints. And so if you take a look at from database, you can see that the cart items is only sending the cart items, and then products is only sending the products. And the problem is we need to make sure that it's actually sending not the cart items themselves, but the actual products those cart items actually represent. And you can do that by actually clicking here and expanding it. So if you select products or cart items, you can click here and you can actually expand it. And so what we want is we want the product ID and we want the title. That is what we want. And so actually, a much better thing to do would be to select this title here, and you can deselect all of this, okay? Because we only care about the titles you can also send descriptions if you want, but I think our descriptions are a little messed up. So we can send the titles here, and then for products, well, we care about everything. Well, no, we don't care about everything. We care about ID. We don't care about this. We don't care about title. Yeah, and that's it. And so you can actually pick and choose the kind of data you're sending. The system doesn't do it. You actually need to prompt, and that's actually a lot better. And so now when we do that and we update it, we should have much better results. And so now if I restart the conversation, we should get real recommendations. So as you can see, now it's actually recommending it. So if you look at prompts you have from database, we have cart items. And you see how it followed our path. So this is my favorite feature probably of from Momen, that it's following the relationships, right? So we have cart items here, and then we have our products somewhere here as well. Yeah, products right there. So this is our cart items here. We only have 2 items, and these are our products. That it's looking into products, and it's looking into these. It's looking into these as well, in fact, and it's looking into products and seeing what it can recommend. And so this is what it's recommending. Okay, so now if you take a look, we say that products array. So now we have a list of integers that we can get the actual products from. So now we can go back to our page, and we can go to the shopping cart, and we can, limit this, right? This data over here, limit this to 10 or even less. And so now what we can do is we can add another list. Okay, so what we can do is we can come over here, add a component, and we can drag another list away. Okay, let me see how that's aligned. Okay, so now we have another list over here, and we can do the same thing with this list. We can customize it. We can say, well, I want the width to be 100. I want the height to be fit, not FR. Right, so now it's 50-50, it's split 50-50. And now let's go ahead and add a text. We have a text now, and obviously we can, left justify it, whatever we want to do. And in fact, it would be better if we wrapped it in a view. And so here we can add a view, and inside the view we can add anything that we want. I'm going to start with a text, and this view, we can also maximize it, and we can have this view, be this way. You can make it center, whatever you want. So we can do left. And now what we can do is we can load the recommendations on the page, right? So we can come over here and we can have an action, and an action can load these recommendations, right? So when on page loads, we can simply load the recommendations. So I'm going to do an AI. I'm going to start a conversation. We're going to select this AI agent. We need to rename it. And then when success, we can take all those IDs and save them in a variable, right? So we can come over here and we can say, set page variable, set global variable. So I want to set a page variable. And here I'm going to define my variable. So I'm going to say this is a big int, and this is a list. Okay. And so it's a list of IDs. And now we can go back to here, and we can say, on success, we are going to set this variable, we're going to assign, and we're going to get the result data. Okay. And so that's going to set this as a page variable. And now we can simply go into data, and we can get the actual values that match those IDs. So we're going to go into remote. We're going to go in here. We're going to choose products. And what we want to do is we want to have a filter. And what we're going to do is we're going to filter them by ID. And here's where we're going to say is in. And we're going to select our value. So we're going to go into in page, page variable 0. We need to rename these variables. Let me go ahead and rename this. So this is our products recommended. Okay. And let me go ahead and change this as well. This is our product, something like this. Let's go ahead and update it. All right. That is done. Let's go ahead and click here. We have this, and now let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and have it display something here. We're going to click here. I'm going to delete all this, and I'm going to say in component data list item, and I'm just going to select title. Okay. So now we have a recommendation engine here going. Let's go ahead and run this and see how it looks. So there we go. It is loading, and these are the recommendations. Apple Magic Mouse, Magic Keyboard, AirPods Pro. So if I delete something, it's not refreshing. We need to make it refresh. But let me see now. Okay, so it's a little bit something different, right? We have Mac Studio M2 Ultra. Let me go ahead and delete it and see what happens now. Okay, so now it's recommending whatever, which is fine. But let's say I go back and I add a Apple TV. Okay, I added it, go back, go to cart, and now it's recommending something else. Apple Watch, Apple AirPods Pro, etc., etc. Obviously, these are all Apple products, right? So it has a hard time kind of figuring out, well, you have an Apple TV here, what should it recommend? But you guys get the picture. You guys understand, right? And so now let's go ahead and add a little bit more functionality to this. This is going to be recommendations, and I am going to add a text right here. And I want to say, you may be interested in these. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And another thing I want to do is, well, I mean, we can basically have it display exactly what we have here, except instead of deleting it, we're going to be adding it. Right, which is very easy to do. And so let's do that right now. Let's add okay. And I want to make sure that that view is properly, yeah, it needs to be like this. Okay, so now we have this. Okay, so we have this image. Let me see how this image here is done. 47 by 37. Let's do that here. 47. Actually, we should probably make it into a square. Let's do 45 by 45. I think that's nice. And we want this thing to be something like this. I'm going to get, and we want it to be maybe sent, something like this. Like this. How is it done here? We want it to be the same way. This view is okay. Because this one is stretched out. Okay, perfect. So we can just copy it left, whatever. And we'll do just left and do this, and we can center it. That's fine. And then we can stretch this out, right? So this is going to be width is going to be this, and then we can add more things. So we can have a button to add it. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste this. Okay. So now we have this button. I'm going to change it to maybe, okay, so something like this, and this is going to add it. All right. So I'm just going to put something like, in fact, I don't think we need anything here. Okay, so something like this. And let me take a look at this view. This view has a fixed width. Why does it have a fixed width? Why can't I make it 100%? So it's a fixed width. You could put 90%. So we have this title. Title is going to be left justified. We need this image. Does this image, where's the padding? Let's do 45, 45. Let's do a little bit of padding or margin. So let's do margin here, 10. Okay, so something like this, that looks better. And this button is going to say, I'm just going to put means add. Okay. And that's it. So this is going to display the title of the recommended. This is going to be the image. So we'll just do an upload, data binding in component data list item. Here I'm going to do this in component data list item image URL. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's see. Okay, so something like this. And so that's going to be displaying it. And then this is going to add it. So what I can do is I can simply have an action. It's deleting. So we're going to change this. We're going to say request data mutation. We wanted to insert cart items, right? Because we're assuming it's not there. Okay, so we're just going to have a simple way. I mean, obviously you may want to add quantities, stuff like that if it exists, but we're just going to keep it simple. Insert cart items, quantity 1. We're going to get the cart ID, page data. What is the cart ID for the shopping cart? Do we have that somewhere? Page variable, component data. We don't have a cart ID, huh? Okay, so we need a cart ID. Because, wait a second. It's a shopping cart. It should, shopping cart. Yeah, it should have a cart ID. What does this get it? Logged in user. Okay, so it's not, yeah, we don't have the cart ID, but we get it here as this data. And so we, okay. Okay. So yeah, we have this here, products query. Okay. Yeah. The issue is that, this thing here is happening on this list view, and this list view does not have access to what's happening here. It needs to be done on the page level. And so, this is just getting the cart ID. This is just for the user. So if we want the cart ID, we can just do it here. We can just do it at the high level. Just do something like this and say, get cart ID. Get cart, and then I can open this up and I can say this is carts. I can say data limit is 1, filter, we need filter. We're gonna say user ID, ID, and this is going to be logged in user. Okay, so that is gonna get yeah, that's fine. That's gonna give us cart ID, and then we can come over here and we are doing products query is in, so we have that, but we need this. And this is going to be here, insert, and now when you have the cart ID. So we can simply go to in-page data, data source, get cart, and we have the ID. And now we need to get the products, and that's easy. In component data, list, item, ID, and now we just need to refresh it. And I'm gonna refresh the whole thing. Oh, well, yeah, we can refresh the whole thing. We want to refresh the whole thing, not just the list. Really, really nice refresh functionality, right? Really nice, very, very granular. And so let's go ahead and run it. We don't have any issues. We don't have any errors. Let's see how it looks. I'm gonna go to my cart. I have a cart, and it's getting recommendations. I'm gonna add this. Click that again. It did not refresh. Let me see if it's in my shopping cart. We have this cart, and yeah, it added it twice. It's probably the refreshing issue. So I'm gonna delete this time. 131. Yeah, it added this one. This is 34. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this. And so now if I refresh it, it should be there. Okay, so now we have these two, and you see it's not recommending it anymore, which is nice. It's smart. It's smart. You know, Apple TV 4K, HomePod Mini, it's not here. None of these are here. So it's pretty smart. Let's go and look at our refresh logic. It's this part on success, shopping cart, huh? Let's, okay, looks good to me. Let me go ahead and restart it. Add to cart, go back, cart. Okay, so now we have all of these items. Let's say I want to AirPods Pro. Okay, so it's not refreshing it, but if I refresh this, it should be there. So now we have even AirPods Pro here, and we don't have AirPods there anymore. So recommendation engine works. Let's go ahead and try something else over here. Data, no, not data, action, this action. And let's go ahead and have it refresh this list. Okay. And then we can add another target. I think that's the key. This list. Okay. And actually let's rename our list. This is our shop. This is our cart. I'm going to say cart list. And this is going to be all right. And so now if we come over here, we have this refresh. Yeah, card list, recommend list. Let's go ahead and see how this works. Card, we have this. I'm going to delete a bunch of these. Okay. And now if I add this, it's there. You see, now it's a much better refresh actually. Now it's in the shopping cart. Okay. Really, really cool. This is scrollable. This is scrollable. And now we have recommendation logic, a recommendation engine built into it thanks to this AI agent functionality. All right, so the next thing that I want to work on is the checkout page. And so the idea here is we have the shopping cart and the user clicks checkout, and we're going to get redirected to a checkout page, which is going to be this confirmation page before they actually place the order. And where do we want to have checkout? Well, we can have it here. In fact, we have a button already there. So we can simply enable it, and we can set it. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And now let's go ahead and create a new page. And the idea here is that we're not going to be passing anything because we keep track of the shopping cart. And so here, this is going to get redirected to checkout. And we're simply going to have like some kind of a confirmation like, hey, you know, this is the total, this is what, you know, you're going to be paying, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and add a view. Kind of start out with, we have this view. I am going to do some formatting at it. So let's do 100% on the view, and the width, the height. So I like to have the height. Let's have it either, you know, you want to have it either fit. In fact, I think fit is going to be better, or you want to have it this, right, to take the whole thing. So we're going to be doing fit, and let's go ahead and see what we can do. Now, let's go ahead and place things. So what do we want to have? Well, we want to display a big confirmation. I'm going to put that there. And I also want to display some other things. So we have this text. This is going to say confirmation. And the other thing I want to do is on the view, I want to space it out. This is going to be nice. So when you duplicate it, it should space these things out. I know why it's not doing it, because it has this fit. So if we give it a little bit of extra, that's going to do it. And so we want it to be something like this. So something like this. And then if I do that, it's going to be something like this. And then we can have some padding on the view. Let's do some padding top to bottom. Okay, that's starting to look better. And so this is going to be 38. Let's make it a little bit darker, bold. And here's where we're just gonna display total items, I'm going to say total items, and I'm going to have the items, and this is going to be total. And all we need to do to load all of this is first we need to load the shopping cart. So we can do it on the top level. We're going to do a data source, and we are going to, I'm just going to do carts because we care about the shopping cart, and data limit is 1. We're going to have a filter. Filter is going to be user ID, and then this is equal to logged in user, because we're storing all of it, right? So we don't need to pass it around and variables and all of these things. Now for total items, all we need to do is click here, and we can go to in-page data, data source, and cart items, and we have our count. And so we also have quantity as well. So we can potentially sum up the quantity. And so if the quantity is 1, it's going to be the same as count. But if the quantity is different, the sum is going to display. So I don't know which one we want to display. I think maybe the sum is going to be better. The quantity sum is going to be better. So we're going to have that. And so if we run this now, we should get the total items. Let's go ahead and test this out. So if we go into our cart, we have a lot of things. I'm going to delete. Okay, so now we have one item in our shopping cart. If we go into checkout, and that's not redirecting to checkout, so we need to make sure that it does it correctly. This needs to go into checkout. It says we have it set to go back. We need to navigate. Okay, and then transition we can do. And so now let me go ahead and run this. And if I go into cart, we have one item here, and we have all of these suggestions here. And so if we go into checkout, we have total items 1. So now if let's say we add something else, and let's say I add this, add to cart, and I add it again, and we go back, we go to cart. Now we should have 3 items. Okay. And so if we do a checkout, it says 3 items, okay? Because it's counting the quantities together, okay? And so now we need to calculate the sum, and we might want to have these a little bit closer together. And the way that we can do it is by going here. And what you want to do is you want to create another view here. So you want to do this, and you want to have another, and you want to place this view inside. And then what you want to do is you want to do this. You have this view. You want to place these items in this view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cut, and I'm going to place this here. And so that's what we want to do. And we want to take this too. Okay. And so now if we go into this view, we want to make sure it's set up correctly. Yep, it's good. And now we can do this formatting inside the view. And so now this is going to be independent of this, because that's kind of how we want. We want it to be independent. We want it maybe to be like this or like this, and we can control all of that. Okay, let's go ahead. And so yeah, here you can set a width, whatever you want. So I'm gonna do, yeah, it doesn't really matter here, that's fine. And so we have total sum. We mixed it up, we got them the other way around. Okay, so we have total items. Now, when it comes to the sum, one thing that we can do is we can work backwards, right? So we can create another data here to get the products and then get their prices. So this is something that we can do. We can come over here. We can say we want to get the products where the cart, ID of the cart user is us, right? So we're kind of working backwards. And so I'm going to set a limit, and this is going to be enough for cart items, right? And so we're going to create the filter. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on this limit, on this field that we don't really think we need, but it's actually ended up very, very useful to us. So we're going to click here, and we're going to go into cart ID. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to user ID, and I'm going to say ID is equal to logged in user. Okay. So this way we are working backwards. We're saying we want the products that are in this cart, right? Through this cart items, cart ID, user ID, right? So we're kind of working through the other way. And this is nice, because this gives us the products that we need, right? Now we can work with products. And so if you come here, you can simply go over here and you have in-page data. And let me go ahead and rename that so it's easier to remember. So this get source, I'm just going to say get products. And now if we come back, you can click here and you can do in-page data, data source, get products. And now you have all the products filtered by the products that are in our cart, right? This is how awesome it is. So we can say count, we can do price, we can sum up the price, we can sum up this. We can also do aggregation on the categories. So let's say I want to take the price and I want to sum it up. So that's going to give me the sum of the products. Okay. So if I run this, let's see what happens. So let's go to our cart. We have 2 items. Let's say I delete this and I do checkout 423. So let me double check if that is correct. Let's go. We have Apple TV 4K 423. I don't know if that's the right number. If we go to our products. So this is this Apple TV, and yeah, 423. right? Now, the only issue with this is that it doesn't take into account quantity, right? So if you go over here, we have the sum. If we, if you run this app and we, add it again. So let's say I want to add it again. Where's this? And I say, well, we already have it. I'm going to add it again. Now we have two. We have two here. And I go to our cart and it's two. And if I do checkout, it's still the same price. And so, yeah, we can't easily multiply it by two here because we can have, 10 items and different quantities. And so the best way to track it is to track the sum on the shopping cart. Okay, so if we come back over here and we have our cart items, we want to also track the sum because we're tracking the quantity, but it's important to track the sum because, and this is for multiple reasons, it's not enough to pull the product's price because we could have gotten it at a discount. And so the price that we could have bought it is different. And so we need another field to track the sum. Okay, so let's go back and let's go ahead and add another column to cart items. I'm just going to say sum. So that way we track the price, and this is going to be an infinite precision decimal so that we keep track of the decimal point and all that. And so this is now sum. We're going to update our backend, and that sum is going to be constantly calculated. Okay, so when we place things, when we add things, we're going to update the sum. And chiefly, if you go to our page, if you go into product detail, this is where we are updating. Anytime we're updating quantity, we need to recalculate the sum. So if we go over here and we open this, this is insert cards. That's fine. Insert items. We need the sum. Okay. And so when we enter the first one, that's easy. We just get the sum from the products. Okay. So we can simply come over here and let's see, do we even have this data? We have get products. We do have get products and we can get the price in page data source, get products. Yeah, that's it. And we're going to get the price because we are, it's already filtered on that product. So this is fine. We need to do the same thing here in page data source, get products, price. And now when we update, when we increment this by 1, we also need to do the same thing with this, right? So we need to take the sum and we need to multiply it by we need to increment the sum by the price of the product. Right. So when we increment this by 1, we need to add another price. So we're going to go here in page data source, get products, price. We're essentially adding the price. Okay. And that's it. And so now let's try this again. Let's go into our data. Let's delete cart items and cart. Make sure it works. So you see, we don't have the sum there. Let me go ahead and run it. I'm going to add this. It is added. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to our cart. And now it is here, right? So if I do a checkout, it's there. Okay. So that was something expensive. Let me check. Hopefully that was the right price. It's a lightning cable. It's that expensive. Is that right? Let me double check what's going on. Shouldn't be that expensive, but if that's what we have, that's what we have. Let's see. Yeah, it's that expensive. That's an expensive lightning cable. Okay. So at least this works. And so now if we go back, we refresh this and we come here and we already have it. We're going to add it again. Now it's 2. Go back, we go to cart and we do a checkout. It should have updated. It did not update. Let me double check what's happening. Let's go into our order items. This should have been updated, right? It should have added more. And so let me double check what's happening. Let me open this. And this is a mutation. Sum. We should have set to increment. That's what happened. We have none, but we put that there. Okay, let's close that. Let's delete cart items so that we have the data correctly. We just don't have any cart items. That's fine. Our system should handle that. We're gonna go over here. I'm gonna add this again. It's not there. It's there. Now if we go back, we go to the cart, we do a checkout. It is there. And now if I add it again, it should double the price. It should add it at the same amount there. Let me double check. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so it should be displayed. Let me go to cart. It is it's using it. It's pulling it from the products. it needs to pull it from it needs to pull it not from the products anymore. It needs to pull it from the cart items. So let's go ahead and fix this. Yeah, it's getting it from the products. That's the, so if you come over here and we go to in-page data source, we want to get cart items, products, and now we can sum it up. Actually, no, we can just do sum. Yeah, we can do sum and sum because that's the sum. Okay, and so that's gonna work. And so now we're only dealing with cart items. We don't even need get products anymore. We don't even need this right here because we know we have it set up differently now. So this is the count, this is the sum of quantity, and this is the sum of items. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this now. Check out, and now it's correct. And so let's try that again. Let's add another one. We already have 2 of them. I'm gonna add another one. 3, go back, go to cart, check out, and now it's there. Okay, and so that logic works. And then if you remove it, you're just gonna subtract its price from here. Okay. Now, another thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to create a nav bar here. So it's going to be easier to navigate between these pages. Now, the pages that we want to navigate is going to be products. It's going to be shopping cart. And that's it pretty much, right? Because product details, comes from products, right? So products lead to product detail and shopping cart leads to checkout. So right now we only have 2 top level pages, but we can also have more. So let's go ahead and do it here. So what we want to do is we want to add a component. We want to start with a view. So I'm going to select the view and I'm going to drag it right here. Okay. So now we have this view. You want this view to be 100%. Right? Because it's always going to be 100% no matter what. And the height, you want it to be fit. Okay? You want to take only as much space as the contents inside. And so now what we want to do is we want to search for an image and you want to drag it in here. Okay, and this image we can make 45 by 45, and now select this view and you want to give it a horizontal layout. And so now it's going to be horizontally, and you can also do spacing, some interesting things as you put more items. So I think what we're looking for is evenly, right? Because space, or maybe, yeah, things evenly or space around. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and add another one, or we can just duplicate this one. So let's go ahead and open it. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. You can just press Command D. And that is what we have right now. So if you take a look, this is not what we want. We want it to be kind of centered. So right now, it doesn't really matter, right? Space around and evenly is going to be good enough. So let's just do space around for now. And so this is going to lead us to products, and this is going to lead us to shopping cart. Okay, so now we need to find some icons. All right, so I went ahead and got my icons, and now we need to upload them here. And I got my products icon. Okay, so now we have a shopping cart. Okay, so these are the icons. And so now what you want to do is you want to link them. So let's go ahead and link this to shopping cart. We're going to do action, gonna click here, and we're going to do navigate shopping cart. And what do we want? We want push. Push is fine. And this is going to, and here, we don't really need to do anything because it's on this page, right? Products is products. And so now what we want to do is we want to copy this view and we want to go to shopping cart and you want to select this and you want to paste. Okay. And then paste this view. And now what you want to do is you want to do the opposite. You want to keep this one as is, but link this one. So I'm going to do navigation. We're going to do pages and we're going to do products. Okay, push is fine. Okay, and so now we have that. And so now if we go ahead and run our app, we see this, right? We need to fix it a little bit. Maybe, yeah, we need to give it a little bit more padding because it's kind of tight. But you see, you can click here and you're in the shopping cart. You can click here and you're in products. So let me go ahead and fix it. I think padding would be, let's see, view. Yeah, padding would be perfect. We want to give it all around padding. So 10, we don't want to give it padding on the sides. We want to give it top and bottom padding, actually. Let's go ahead and select this and we want to give it this kind of padding. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, and let's do the same thing on the other page. View, and you want to do it like this. Okay, and that's going to be better. And so now if you run the app, you see this. Now maybe you want to make this a little bit darker so it kind of stands out. Let's go ahead and do that. So this view, if you scroll down, you have this background color. And so you can make it darker. You know, this is going to be for our UI guys, but you have an option. So maybe something like this. Go here, view, scroll down and paste this. There it is. Okay, so something like this. And as you can see, it's on top because it's the last one, right? So it automatically sits on top. So that's kind of nice. You can also give it a border, right? So you can come over here and you can do a border here. There's one. Yeah, actually it looks pretty decent. So let's do that. So you have all of these options. Border here, one. And now if you run it, see how that looks? Okay, and that looks better. Maybe you want to make it smaller, right? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of up to you. To me, it looks a little big. So, but that's easy, right? All you need to do is come here and you want to make this maybe 40 by 40. And this is going to automatically resize because the view does not have its own constraints. You see how it becomes smaller. So maybe that looks better. Let's do this. And obviously you want to do this before you paste and copy this all over your pages. You want to do it once and then copy and paste it everywhere. So this is done. No, this is going to be 40, 40. Another thing you can do is you can give the icons a border, right? So if you select this, you click here and now you have a border. Right, so I don't know, this kind of has a border, you can remove that. So it's up to you how you want to do it, but it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty decent. Okay, so now you can kind of click and you have your products, you have this, which is really nice. And obviously you can keep customizing this. Next, I want to build out some payment flows. Okay, so remember we have a shopping cart, we have a checkout, so we have our sum that we need to charge the customer. And if you go into your settings, you have this payment option. So let's go ahead and configure it. We're going to click on configure. We're going to activate it. And it's going to go in here and says, once the order table is bound, it cannot be modified. Do you want to continue binding? And so let's go ahead and see if we can bind this table. I'm going to say confirm. And now what it wants is it wants my public key and my private key. Okay. And then it has these action flows, right? One-time payment callback, recurring payment, refund callback, and recurring deduction. So we're only going to be activating this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Stripe account. Here I am in the test mode and we can get the keys to do it, right? So all you need to do is come in here, search for API. You're going to get your API keys and you want to copy these keys. Okay. And you obviously want to be testing first. And now what I want to do is I want to hit save. Next, I want to click on one-off payment callback. I want to click here and that creates a payment callback. Now this is really nice because this gives me a callback option right inside of Momen. And not a lot of app builders have this ability. And why this is so nice, right? We have this input node. We have a callback handler here and have this JavaScript code. We have the payment status, callback, etc. And so once the payment has been processed, right, the credit card has been charged, we're going to get this callback. Okay. And so we need to create these nodes that will do something. All right. So now what we can do is we can have this flow where we record the order and also create the payment as well. Okay, so now we're going to go in here. We're going to click here. And what we want to do is we want to request and we want to create the order first. So we have, we can insert order items and we can insert orders. So I'm going to do insert orders first. And now we have this screen. And so if you click here, you can see the whole thing. So what we want to do is we want to insert orders. Status is going to be paid. Shipping address is going to be, let's just make something up for now. We'll capture it from the user. I don't know. 10 West or 10 Wall Street. Now the total, we know the total, right? So we can click over here in page data, data source, get cart, cart items, sum, and sum, right? The sum of the items, right? Order items, right? So we don't have this, right? This needs to be done later. And payment record, and this is something that's going to be done by Stripe. Okay, so once we have that, what we need to do is we need to create another action. And now what we can do is we can select payment, Stripe, and we can fill this out. So the order ID is going to be the ID from the table above. So this is the result data. We're just going to do ID. And currency is going to be USD, or, you know, depending on your currency. And the amount is going to be the total. But it needs to be multiplied by 100. Because it expects cents. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to go in here and we want to do a formula and we can click here and we can do a multiplication. In fact, it's right here. Okay. So we can multiply two numbers. Okay. So we're going to select our in page data, data source, get cart, cart item, sum, and now we need to multiply it by 10, okay? Because it expects it in cents. So 1,000 for 10 USD, okay? And that's what we have, okay? So that should hopefully charge it. Now, once that is charged and everything is fine on the Stripe side, we are going to get a callback, okay? And so we can simply go to Stripe and we can go into webhooks. And as you can see, we have this Momen, we have these various webhooks, okay? And so we're going to get data here because Stripe is going to notify us of various events. So Momen installed 4 webhooks for different events. So one is like a one-off payment, recurring payment, a refund, failure, whatever the case may be. And so we can select, and it's listening for events. So probably this one is invoice created. This one is refunded. This one is subscription deleted, updated. This one is payment succeeded. So this one is where we're going to get the events. Okay. And so now let's go ahead and close this. Let's close this and let's go ahead and run our app and see if it works. Let's go ahead and select this. We're going to add this to cart. We have that in cart. I'm going to go back and I'm going to select our shopping cart. I'm going to do a checkout and I'm going to say buy now. And in fact, when we do a buy now, we are shown this credit card payment form. Okay. So now we need to fill out this, credit card payment form. And I think if I do this, that is going to work, right? Because we have a test one. So let's do something like this and zip code. Okay. And now we're going to do pay now. And it says payment succeeded. And if we go back to Stripe, we should have an event here. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if that works. And there we have it. We have an event. We have this amount. Remember, that was the charge, right? So this is multiplied, it's like 22,000. So it should really be, it should really be this amount. And amount captured. We multiplied it by 10. We need to multiply it by 100 because this should be 2,000 and we only charged them 10 times less. We need to multiply by 100. So we made a mistake. So everything looks good. And so now what that means is let's go back. Let's go ahead and fix this. This needs to be, let me open that up, by 100. That was our mistake. Not a problem. Okay. As you can see, it's 2 extra zeros here. That's fine. So we fixed that. Okay. And so now, we are going to have some data in there, right? So if we go back here and we go into our database, if we go into orders, remember that is the table that we linked it to. When we linked it, Stripe said, okay, you want to link orders? It created another table called payment record, and it created a one-to-many relationship because on that one order, we can have many records like a refund, a failed order, a successful order. And so if we go into our database and we go into orders over here, we have a payment record here. So if we click here, we have Stripe Pay successful. Okay. So we got that callback and it is now successful. Okay. And so we know it was successful. We have the data here, right? This is the amount which is not correct. It should be times 100 and that's fine. But we know it is successful now. So now we get this, we got the callback back. And we know that, we can now, provision, shipping, et cetera, et cetera. And so now we can go back and we can take a look. We have the shipping updates here. Okay. And we have, this table over here. So if we take a look, just the shipping updates, and this should really be, I guess it should be a relationship. And so over here, this shipping updates needs to be linked to orders. It's a one-to-many. I guess we forgot it. Let's go ahead and do that right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my orders and I'm going to make a relationship from orders to shipping updates. I'm going to create a relationship type, one-to-many. Target table is shipping updates. And in the target table is going to be the order ID. And then the current table is shipping updates. Okay. We're going to update this. Okay. It has been updated. So now if we go into orders, we have shipping updates. And if I go into shipping updates, we have the order ID over here. Okay. And so now if we go into database, and if we go into orders, we have shipping updates, right? So if you open this up, there's no shipping updates, but we can create shipping updates, right? So here you can insert a row and you can input the order ID that it links to, right? So we can actually select this order here. Okay. We can look it up. and we can say confirm. And that's going to put this order. And so initially it was like shipping updates is packaging or processing. Let's do processing. And location is the address, right? 10 Wall Street, New York, New York. Okay. And so I go ahead and create that. And then we can have another shipping update. And so now I can go into my action flow. And what I can do is on successful, I can come this and I can say, well, database, insert data. And I can go ahead and what I want to do is I want to insert shipping updates. And I can input my status and location. And here I can input the order ID. Okay, so I can click this, and what I can get is action flow data. I have my callback handler, and I can get the order ID because Stripe tells me the order ID. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's say it's now paid. Location is the address, whatever. Let's do 10 Wall Street. And the order ID, well, we have the order ID, right? I can go to action flow. We have a handler order ID. Okay. And in fact, we can also probably get the status as well. So action flow, we have payment status here, callback process. You can do that if you want. So you have access to the payment status. Okay. And let's go ahead and update our database. And so that way, when we get a successful order, it's going to update the shipping status so that the user can look in the shipping status and see that the order has been updated. And so now if I run my app over here, I click here, and let's say we go into products and I want an Apple Studio display, add to cart. There it is on the cart. Go back. I go to our shopping cart. I do a checkout. There it is. And then I do buy now, and I'm presented with the screen. I'm going to fill this out. This right here is recommended by Stripe to use this as a fake credit card for testing. This is the expiration date. Can be anything in the future. Security code can be anything. Country. We're going to do pay now. And it says payment succeeded. Okay. So now let's take a look at what we have in our data. So we come back here. We go into orders. We have this order over here. We have the payment record and we have a shipping update. Okay, so if we go into, in fact, we can just click here. We're going to see the payment update successful. This is the amount. If you divide by 100, you get 1,071.91 cents, which is exactly correct. And if you go into here, this is the shipping update, right? Paid, because that's what we specified, right? Paid, and it is set automatically, right? Because that is exactly what we have here. That's action flow. That is what we said. We said paid. So this was executed automatically. And you can also create this one if it's not successful, right? Because this whole thing is configured for you, right? All of this is done for you and makes it super easy to kind of work with a Stripe. So because that all in itself is going to take you a couple of days. But here Momen provides this functionality, and I really, really appreciate it because a lot of no-code tools do not provide this. And we have this whole backend builder here, which is really awesome. And so now you know for sure that the payment went through. In fact, you can also go to your Stripe. This is my test account. And remember, I think it was, no, this is invoice created. I think it was this last one, right? And as you can see, if I refresh it, you're going to see another payment succeeded, right? So now we have a bunch of payments succeeded, and this one is this last one. Okay, payment intent. And so that's because we're listening for this, right? This webhook that Momen created for you, installed and then installed on Stripe, all done for you, right? It's listening and it's getting these webhooks. Of course, in production, you will have to go do it in production, but it's going to work the exact same way. It's really, really easy and works really, really well. All right. So our app is starting to come together, and in no small part, thanks to Momen's integrated features and integrated data, action flow AI, also APIs if you need that. And then you can combine that with an AI agent. Really, really nice. And one thing that I want to do right now is I want to display the categories, right? So in these products, I was asking myself what kind of things I want to display, and I forgot categories, right? So over here, we have a view. And if we take a look at this design, this view is horizontal. And so what I want to do is I want to create another view to display the category underneath the title or above the title, right? And so for that, we need to create a view, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create the view right here. And so now we have a view. Now I want the view to be FR, right? I want it to take up as much space as it needs as dictated by this view. And then we have this text over here. And so I'm going to work on this text right here. The height is going to be this. the width is going to be this. And so I'm going to click here and I'm going to duplicate this. And now we have two of these duplicated right here. Okay, so that's what we have. And this is going to display the title in component title. And I want this to display the category. And so I do want to change this field, how it's linked, right? So products. And so this should be category. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change it, right? I'm going to delete that relation. And if I go up to category, there's no relation. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do a one-to-many from categories, and I'm going to link it here. And so target is going to be products. Relation type is one-to-many because category can have multiple products. Now in the target table, okay, so in the product, we want category, okay? And in the current table, we want product ID. So now if we go into products, we have category. Okay, so now it is set up correctly. We're going to update this. And so now let's go ahead and place products in some categories, right? So if we go into categories, you can see the IDs right here. So let's say we want to place products in category 48. So I'm going to go into products and I'm going to say 48. I'm just going to do it for all of them, right? As a test. You can also click here and you can do it like this, but I'm just going to do it. It's going to just be quicker. And now if we go to our page and we click here, we can display the category really, really simply. Click here, list item, and you want to scroll down. You're going to see this category. Now you can just display the name. Okay. And so that should be it. Now, if you run the app, you have the category over here, which is kind of nice. And let's go ahead and do that on the detail page as well. So here we have title. What I can do is I can duplicate it here and I'll make it really small. In fact, let's go ahead and make this, looks like it has this. So what we can do is, in fact, we can just create the view, delete this, duplicate this inside the view. And now we can, do whatever we want. We can do this, we can give it a little bit of, yeah, that looks a lot better. And I'm going to do regular. I'm going to make this smaller, 16, and I'm going to display the category, right? So come over here, in page data source is name. Data source name. Let me double check. What is that? It's this get products. I think that's what we're getting. That's the thing. So if I come over here, let me go in page data source, and get products, and we can get the category name. We need to adjust the width and the size. So you want the width to either to be fit, okay? And you don't want it to be fixed. You want it to be fit or expanded. So this is now name, and you want the view to be expanded. You see how it's set. You want the view to either be fit or you want it to be like this. Well, we're going to make it fit. The width, you want it to be fit. Okay. And you never want the height to be fixed. Okay. Fit. Width is 100% fit. Always you want it to be either fit or 100%. You never want it to be, you see now height is, we're going to make it fit. So now it should be fine. We're going to run it. And if I click here, it displays it here. Okay. And these are the reviews and all that, but at least it's displaying it here. Okay, and here we can put reviews, or we can put something else. All right, so we can do this, and now it's going to say reviews, and if we run that, it's reviews, 0 reviews. This is the number of reviews, and this is the average. That's going to be there. But because we don't have any average, right? We don't have anything. We don't have any reviews for that. It's not displaying anything, right? Okay, looks really good. Then we can delete this. Or, you know what? Just make it invincible. I think it's a good idea when it comes to debugging stuff. Okay? Now, of course, we can keep going and keep adding new features to this app. And really, the sky's the limit. Momen is so powerful that creating advanced custom functionality is truly seamless in Momen. And so I want to leave this app as is so that you can build on top of it, because I'm going to be sharing this app with my amazing supporters. And I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the awesome features that made this app development super easy and seamless. And so, of course, my main thing is with the database connections, right? This is going to be the one thing that you're going to be using over and over and over again. And so the fact is that it's so easy to create database entities and create relationships among them, and then to pull up the exact data that you need, regardless of whether, you need an aggregate of the data, you need a specific record, you need to get a certain record there, any kind of data regardless whether it comes from the one side of the one-to-many relationship or the many side of the one-to-many or many-to-one relationship. It doesn't really matter. Plus, when you create a one-to-one relationship, Momen creates the right kind of unique constraints and all that. So you always have really solid data integrity, right? This is like the first thing I noticed, and really, I really love this because it's so easy to get the exact data that you want, and you don't really need to create different views. If you were using Supabase, you'd have to create separate views depending on the kind of data that you need. So this is really easy. The next thing that I really like is the action flow. And action flow is a lot more powerful than it seems, because you may be thinking this is similar to just a regular flow that's invoked by a UI event, but you'd be mistaken, because yes, it covers the bases there, but you also get triggers, you get webhooks, you get schedule triggers, right? So you get like several tools packaged into one, because with a lot of app builders, the functionality that you're getting requires you to be using a separate tool. And so I really, really like that. Now, Momen could have stopped here, right? It would have been an amazing and a feature-rich tool, but they went further, right? They give you this AI agent functionality. And this is awesome functionality because not only can you feed it context, but you can also feed it functions. You can give it custom data, and you can have it, get back to you with, as though it's invoking a custom function with the arguments and all that. And you can take that function and then, send the data where it needs to go. Super powerful, super amazing. Typically, this is another separate tool, but it's baked right into Momen and has this tight integration. And so that is why we were able to create our recommendation engine so easily and really so seamlessly, right? It was just like, a couple of hours and we had a fully functioning recommendation engine working there already. And so I really, really like that. And plus you have API access, you have really good things. And the best part of it all is that you can combine it all together. You can have a agent use your database. It can use your action flows. It can use your API calls. It can do a lot of things. Everything is super tightly integrated. And so Momen is awesome if you want to build innovative apps, right? Because you have that extra functionality. And so definitely, rewatch this video if you have to, clone this app, from our amazing Patreon community, and try to get some experience of building apps with Momen and see if it's the right tool for your specific use case. And of course, don't forget to join our amazing Patreon community. You're going to gain access to lots and lots of resources, including I'm going to be making available this app that I was building here so that you guys can play around with it and get a closer look.